Noah's eyes snap open to a vast, silent void. He floats weightlessly, staring at the cosmic abyss. He realizes he must be dead, but the thought doesn't stir emotion. It's like someone hit the mute button on his soul. His memories are foggy, like static on a broken screen. He frowns, trying to piece together who he is and how he got here. But the answers just won't come. Noah scans the void, fragments of faces flashing through his mind. One of a woman, another of a stranger. He can't place them, but they feel important. He calls out, hoping someone, anyone, might answer. A ripple tears through the darkness, and a glowing portal opens. From it emerges a towering, shadowy figure. The voice that follows is deep and alien, echoing straight into his mind. Noah stumbles back, demanding to know who or what it is. The being answers without hesitation. It is the incarnation of the void, and this place is the end of all mortal realms. So not exactly a tourist destination. The void explains that our boy's soul was shattered and scattered across the astral rift. Somehow, enough fragments were recovered to piece him back together. Noah looks down at the flickering blue flame in his hand, unsure whether to be impressed or horrified. The flame pulses gently, but he still feels nothing. Noah stares at the flame and asks if this means they recreated his soul. He's not sure how to process that. In fact, he admits he feels absolutely nothing. The void dismisses his reaction, saying it doesn't need his gratitude, only the seal he carries. Noah blinks, baffled. What seal? He doesn't remember receiving any cosmic stamps of approval. The void reveals that the seal is embedded within Noah's soul, a side effect of his death. The void instructs him to reach within himself, saying a spell has been cast to grant him access to something called the astral script. It will explain everything. Noah stares blankly and mutters that he has no idea how to do that. But with a deep breath, he decides to give it a shot. Because ticking off a cosmic horror with tentacles is not on his to-do list today. A radiant light bursts from our boy's chest, and a glowing blue screen materializes in front of him. It reads, "Generating astral script. Complete. Welcome to the astral system. Name, Noah Brown. Age, dead. Race, human. Status?" Another screen follows, listing strange perks and an ability called Art of Antilumina. He stares, stunned that it actually worked. The screen confirms the seal is fused with his soul. He mutters, trying to understand what that even means. The void writhes in visible discomfort, calling the seal highly unpleasant, and warning that removing it would be nearly impossible. So basically, he's stuck with cosmic malware. Noah shrugs, saying that's too bad. The void, unfazed, offers a solution. Become its puppet and gain unimaginable power. As it speaks, images flash before him, shadowy figures wielding staffs, drenched in red energy, commanding legions. The void says he would be their rebirth, the vessel through which their hunger returns to the world. So, no pressure or anything. The void promises a new life in exchange for Noah's obedience. He asks what happens if he refuses. The answer is immediate and grim. They'll take his soul, rip out the seal, and consume whatever power they can from it. A vortex swirls into existence, the energy crackling with menace. Noah realizes this isn't a negotiation. It's an ultimatum dressed in cosmic horror. Noah lets out a dry laugh, realizing the obvious. He has no real choice. He jokes about needing a lawyer before signing anything, but the void isn't amused. It explains that soul pacts are bound by spirit, not mortal law. Noah points out the flaw. If the void spirit is stronger, then the pact is rigged. He asks how he can trust it not to betray him. The void simply says he can't. A glowing screen appears, offering the pact. As he hesitates, he feels his memories slipping away, like sand through his fingers. Noah thinks back to what it meant to be alive, to feel, to exist. But the cost of this pact gnaws at him. He knows how these stories end. Soul pacts with cosmic horrors never go well. He refuses. Then he challenges the void, asking why it even bothers asking for permission. Isn't it a god? Why not just take the seal? The void pauses, then calls him a perplexing soul. And that's when the tendrils start moving again. Without warning, the void's tendrils whip through the air, wrapping around Noah and yanking him forward. He thrashes, trying to break free, but they tighten like iron chains. The void's chest glows with crackling energy, as it declares that his refusal is unacceptable. Now. The void looms larger, its presence overwhelming. Noah fights against the tendrils, refusing to submit. The void offers a new role, if not a puppet, then a messiah. It will harvest the seal from his soul upon death. Another pack screen appears. Noah snarls and shouts for it to back off. The void notes that his spirit is breaking and questions why he still resists. It tempts him with godhood, promising worship and power beyond mortal comprehension. The tendrils constrict around Noah like a living cage, pulling tighter with every breath. But even as the pressure mounts, he grits his teeth and roars defiantly that he will not bow to a monster. Not now, not ever. The void asks what it would take to make him cooperate. Noah drops to one knee, exhausted, but not broken. He reminds the void that spirit strength governs the pact. So he makes a counter-offer: forge a pact on his terms. Let his spirit control it, and in return, he won't rise against the void. It's not surrender. It's a deal between equals, well, sort of. The void demands to know what it gains from this. Why not just erase him? Noah smirks and fires back, the same reason it hasn't already. Because it can't. The void laughs, a chilling sound that echoes across the stars. It admits defeat, amused that a mortal outwitted it. A screen confirms the pact. Noah is now the herald of the void, tied to its essence. All void creatures are bound to his soul. Another screen flashes transformation initiated. Energy surges through him, and he screams as his body is reshaped by cosmic force. Purple energy coils around Noah, lifting him into the air. The void declares that its essence is now tied to his spirit. A screen confirms the transformation is complete. He has awakened. The void grins, eager to see how he'll wield this power. Then, without warning, the energy releases him, and he plummets into darkness. A screen flashes. Summoning call heeded. You have arrived on Arendir. Flames erupt around a ritual circle as Noah lands in the center. Hooded cultists kneel, chanting in unison. O great being of the abyss, hail. The air is thick with incense and madness. Noah has no idea what he's been dropped into, but it's definitely not Kansas. Noah groans and pushes himself upright. Where the hell? He mutters. The cultists gasp. One shouts, it can talk. Another calls him a speaking creature of the abyss. A third suggests he might be some ancient elemental sent to test them. Their awe is matched only by their confusion. The cultists resume chanting, as a muscular man drags a woman with pink hair toward the altar. Her body is limp, her dress torn. They lay her before Noah and declare her life an offering to him. He stares in disbelief, unsure whether to intervene or play along with the madness. Noah is disturbed. The executioner lifts his blade, ready to strike. A cultist begs Noah to accept the sacrifice. Noah watches, panicking. He mutters that he needs information, anything useful. Suddenly, blue screens appear. Abilities, skills, perks, quests. One screen reads, New quest, run, run, run. You are in a dangerous place with unfriendly faces. It's a good time to start running. He stares, stunned. This just turned into a game, and he's the tutorial NPC. He mutters that this has to be a joke. He pats himself down, confirming he's real. Looking around, he realizes the cultists think he's some kind of ancient elemental. He demands answers, shouting that he was just in the endless void. The cultists bow and tremble, explaining that this realm is called Arondir, and they summoned him to request a boon in exchange for a life. Great. He's been isekai'd into a cult negotiation. Noah puts on his best villain voice, mocking the mortals for waking him over a mere favor. He immediately cringes at how bad that sounded. Someone nearby whispers that his acting is trash. The cultists panic, insisting they meant no offense. They explain that this is the material realm and he can enter it at will. Noah sits down, thinking hard. If they believe he's a god, maybe he can use that. A screen appears. Perks identify. Time to gather intel. He activates a perk and starts scanning the people around him. Blue screens pop up. Abyssal cultist, Abyssal executioner, and flame warden. He eyes the woman on the ground and figures she's not thrilled to be the human sacrifice. Maybe if he frees her, she can help him escape. But first, he needs a distraction. The problem is, he has no idea what that should be. Noah opens his inventory and spots a scroll sitting alone in a glowing blue grid. Curious, he reaches toward it, and to his surprise, it phases directly into his hand without resistance. He mutters to himself that it was way too easy, marveling at the seamless teleportation. No magic circle, no chant, not even a sparkle. Just pop scroll in hand. He chuckles, calling it amazing, and sarcastically praises himself as a true master of the abyss. The scroll flutters open, revealing a message that reads like a corporate welcome letter from hell. Welcome to Arendir, you've been summoned. Your soul is the invited or assigned master. If XP is lost, please direct complaints to your provider. Noah sighs, then takes a deep breath and raises the scroll dramatically like he's announcing a royal decree. He declares that he will grant their plea. But the woman must live. Noah raises his voice and declares that the woman will serve as his personal servant. The cultists erupt into murmurs, clearly rattled by this unexpected twist. He narrows his eyes and questions their hesitation, asking if they dare refuse him. One of the robed figures stammers out a denial, calling him Great One, but explaining that this kind of pact is unheard of. Every recorded ritual in their history has required a blood sacrifice. Noah starts walking toward the woman, unfazed by their panic, but is suddenly interrupted by someone shouting for him to stop. Noah kneels beside the unconscious woman, lowering his voice to a whisper. He admits he has no clue where he is or what's going on, but if she can hear him, he needs her to play along. He tells her to pretend she's under his control, and when he lifts her, she should open her eyes and rise. With that, he hoists her up in front of the cultists like a stage prop. The cult chief erupts, shouting that she is his vessel, and no one else has the right to command her. Another cultist yells in confusion, demanding to know what Noah thinks he's doing. Blue screens suddenly flash in Noah's vision, identifying the robed figures around him, abyssal executioners and the abyssal cult chief. His stomach drops. He blurts out a panicked curse, realizing he might have just made things worse. One of the cultists misreads the situation entirely and declares that the great elemental has enslaved the woman. The cult chief snaps, calling them idiots and shouting that Noah is clearly just a human. He orders them to capture him immediately. A screen pops up in front of Noah just to rub it in. Quest, run, 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 failed. A new one appears instantly. Kill, kill, kill. The time to sneak has passed. Fight or die. Before he can even process it, a cultist slams into him, fists flying. Noah hits the ground hard, shielding his face as blows rain down. But he doesn't stay down. He punches back with everything he's got, brawling for his life in a chaotic flurry of fists and desperation. Noah wrestles with the cultist, pinning him down, and manages to snatch a key from the attacker's belt. He bats the man away and hurls the key toward the woman, yelling for her to wake up and free herself. She catches it midair, and without hesitation, rises to her feet with a sword in hand. Noah turns sharply, bracing himself for whatever comes next. A cultist charges at Noah with a roar, blade raised. Noah barely has time to react before a shadowy figure materializes nearby, grinning ominously as tendrils of purple energy lash out. The dark magic wraps around his limbs like a snake, pulling him tight. He curses under his breath, struggling against the restraints as the cultist closes in. A blade pierces Noah's side, and his HP bar plummets dangerously low. He gasps, pain shooting through him. But before the cultist can finish the job, something hurls the attacker across the room in a blur of motion and blood. Another enemy raises a weapon, but Noah twists away just in time, barely dodging the next strike. Noah blocks a sword swing, but before he can counter, the entire room lights up in fire. A wave of flames roars across the floor, engulfing a cultist who screams in agony as he's consumed. Noah turns and sees the woman, now fully awake and radiating power, fire swirling around her fists as she steps forward with purpose. She charges straight into the crowd of cultists, flames erupting from her hands in a blazing wave. The fire explodes outward, scattering the robed figures like leaves in a storm. They scramble to escape the inferno as she stands tall at the center, unshaken and absolutely done with everyone's nonsense. The firestorm intensifies, roaring across the chamber as cultists scream and fall. The cult chief, red-faced and furious, shouts at his underlings for being useless, and declares he'll handle it himself. He charges toward the woman, but she's already dropped another cultist with a single brutal strike. Noah's HP flashes red at 8%, but he doesn't hesitate. He grabs the cult chief by the robe and drives a hidden blade into his side. Blood splashes across the floor as he follows up with a wide swing, cutting down another enemy. The ground beneath him is slick with blood, but he's still standing. A flurry of blue screens pop up in front of Noah. He's earned XP, completed the Kill 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 quest, and apparently unlocked some mysterious perk labeled only with question marks. A final screen asks if he wants to awaken a path. He stares at it, still bleeding and barely alive, with his HP sitting at a measly 7%. Blood pools at Noah's feet as the same blue screens flicker again, confirming his kill, his XP, and the offer to awaken a path. He stares at them in disbelief, whispering that he doesn't understand what's happening. His knees buckle and he drops to the ground, his HP, now at 6% and dropping. Noah hits the floor hard, blood soaking through his shirt. He thinks bitterly that dying the moment he arrives in this world is the worst kind of cosmic joke. Then a screen appears, offering him the chance to awaken a path. With nothing left to lose, he selects yes. The stars spin around him as the awakening process begins. A screen announces that he's being transported to his astral space. The next moment, Noah finds himself standing in a glowing vortex, then crashes into a brightly lit arcade. Confused, he looks around at the claw machines and neon lights and mutters, "Where the hell am I now?" He realizes it's an arcade one he hasn't seen since childhood. Noah wanders through the flashing lights and beeping machines, until a man in a white shirt waves at him from behind a counter. The man greets him casually, saying he's finally arrived. Noah glares suspiciously and demands to know who he is and what this place is. The man turns, revealing a name tag that reads Dylan. Noah immediately accuses him of being another void God sent to mess with him. Dylan raises his hands and tells Noah to chill for a second. He introduces himself simply as Dylan, no last name, because apparently Noah's subconscious didn't bother giving him one. Noah scoffs, thinking it's somehow his fault now. Dylan explains that he's from the void, and represents the void in Noah's soul. Noah sighs and mutters, "Okay, Dylan," like he's dealing with a customer service representative from the afterlife. Noah grabs the joystick of one of the arcade machines, and asks if this whole space is his, quote, astral script. The screen lights up with a message congratulating him and announcing a special event for his awakening. He asks what an astral script even is. Dylan explains that it's part of his soul, a magical manifestation of who he is. Dylan explains that the arcade is the form Noah's astral script chose to take, his personal soul space. Noah grins, saying it looks exactly like the arcade he used to visit as a kid. He asks what he's supposed to do here. Dylan admits that normally it's not his job to guide people, but this situation is clearly not normal. Dylan tells him to hit the start button. Noah does, and the screen begins assessing his character and past experiences. Dylan explains that he can choose up to 3 paths, and the options include martial artist, pugilist, and thug. Noah asks what he needs to know, and Dylan breaks it down. There are 4 core attributes: power, constitution, agility, and mystic. Paths increase these stats and make him stronger. Dylan warns that while high-grade paths give better boosts, they limit future growth. Noah selects warrior, and the screen describes it as a path for those gifted in combat, offering 1 free attribute per level. Dylan confirms it's pretty standard. They scroll through more options like martial artist and pugilist, then move to another machine. Dylan points out a healing-focused path, saying Noah will probably need it. Noah browses healing paths, cleric, healer, potion brewer, first aid medic, and asks if he'll be healed after picking one. Dylan laughs and says no. Technically, Noah should already be dead, but time has been slowed for his awakening. Once he returns, he'll have only a few minutes to survive. Noah's eyes land on a path called Exsanguinator, and he asks about it. The screen explains Exsanguinator, a rare path that lets him draw blood from enemies or the astral realm for healing or offense. Dylan says it looks solid, a mix of healing and affliction. Noah nods and says he needs 2 more. Dylan suggests Void's Herald, but Noah immediately rejects it, saying he's not about to become a puppet of the Void. Hard pass. Noah shakes his head and says he's better off with paths that offer combat advantages. He selects Astral Walker, which boosts agility and mystic stats, and Void Hunter, which enhances power and mystic. The screen confirms his choices: Exsanguinator, Astral Walker, and Void Hunter. Dylan sighs as they both slump into their chairs, the gravity of what's coming next settling in. Noah pulls the lever and presses the button to confirm his path selections. The arcade machine hums to life, but something feels off. The lights flicker, and the once familiar hum of the machine turns into an eerie buzz. He flinches as the air grows heavy with static. A strange rustling sound echoes from behind the machine, and then, something groans. A shadowy figure begins to rise from the darkness, its limbs dripping with black sludge, hands clawing toward him like the arcade just spat out a demon. So yeah, totally normal gaming session. The shadowy figure lunges forward and grabs Noah by the collar, yanking him into a vortex of swirling black energy. He barely gets a word out, shouting that only he was supposed to pick those paths, before the void wraps around him like a vacuum from hell. Dylan just stands there watching, completely unbothered, as if this is just Tuesday for him. Noah's body twists through the darkness while blue screens flash in rapid succession. Exsanguinator awakened. Astral Walker awakened. Void Hunter awakened. The system confirms all 3 paths, like it's checking off a grocery list while he's being yeeted into the void. As Noah spirals through the void, the system keeps dropping updates like an overexcited notification bot. His rank bumps up to F. Exsanguinator hits level 3. Astral Walker and Void Hunter both jump to level 2. Then come the stats. Power 4, Agility 2, Constitution 3, Mystic 6. It even gifts him 14 free attribute points, like a cosmic participation trophy. Somewhere in the chaos, he's pretty sure he's leveling up faster than his brain can process. Noah wakes up face down in a pool of his own blood, barely clinging to consciousness. His body shivers as he pushes himself up, and a blue screen appears like a lifeline Exsanguinator ability, Blood Drain. He activates it instinctively. A warm pulse surges through him as his health partially regenerates, and another screen confirms a 100% regeneration boost for 5 minutes. His HP bar crawls up to a measly 11%, but hey, it's better than 0. He flips over, gasping for breath, still bleeding but not dead. So, progress? A hooded cultist stands ready, but before he can react, a woman with blazing fists barrels toward him like a human fireball. Flames trail behind her as she closes the distance in a blink and smashes him across the face with a punch that could register on the Richter scale. He goes flying, and she pivots without hesitation, already locking onto her next target. Whoever she is, she's not here to negotiate. The woman cracks her knuckles, fire still dancing around her fists like it's second nature. A blue screen materializes in front of Noah, announcing a new quest, Cultistus Exterminatus. Apparently, he was summoned here by an eldritch monstrosity named Victral Nifar, and now the mission is to return the favor by exterminating him. Difficulty: hard. Reward: a rare great ability tome. Optional objective: don't die. Great, no pressure or anything. A massive tendril of void energy lashes out toward the woman, but she meets it head-on, blocking it with a fiery burst. Her fist ignites, and without missing a beat, she launches herself at the shadowy creature. A flurry of punches rains down, each one exploding with flames as she drives it back. Fire and shadow clash violently, neither side giving an inch. The cultists cackle like they've already won, even as the woman battles the void creature in a storm of explosions. Another blue screen pops up. Same quest, same objective. Cultistus Exterminatus. Optional: don't die. Noah watches from the ground, still bleeding and barely healed, wondering how exactly he's supposed to contribute when he's one sneeze away from collapsing. Noah checks his status screen. Exsanguinator level 3, Astral Walker and Void Hunter both at level 2. 4 core stats, 14 free points. He debates whether to min-max or spread them out. In the end, he distributes them across Mystic, Power, Agility, and Constitution. His mana surges. In the background, the woman Aurelia is still throwing hands with a flaming vengeance. Noah knows he has to get off the sidelines fast. The void creature crashes to the ground with a thunderous thud, and Aurelia doesn't let up. She slams her fist into the floor, triggering a massive explosion that sends shockwaves through the chamber. The stone beneath them cracks from the sheer force. Debris flies everywhere. But she doesn't flinch. She's not done yet. The cult chief looks up in horror as massive boulders rain down from above. The void creature channels energy into a swirling core, then unleashes it in a devastating blast. The explosion engulfs the area, and the chief is swallowed by fire and rubble. Whatever smug confidence he had is long gone. Noah spots a sword on the ground and grabs it, muttering that it might come in handy. He pulls up his inventory and selects a potion, then pushes himself to his feet. Sword in one hand, potion in the other, he finally looks like someone ready to fight instead of just bleed out. Noah scans the battlefield, searching for Aurelia. She charges forward, fire blazing. The cult chief, clearly panicking, tries to talk his way out. He claims it's all a misunderstanding, that he's an emissary of the void here, to deliver a message. Noah isn't buying it. He warns that hurting him would be a mistake, but his tone makes it clear, he's not bluffing. The cult chief growls in disbelief. Thinking this must be some kind of joke, Noah calmly holds out a scroll and declares that the void has heard Victrol's question and now it has given him an answer. But then his eyes narrow. He accuses Noah of lying, and the air grows tense again. The chief's expression shifts from rage to reverence, calling it an honor to hear from the void itself. Noah curses under his breath as danger closes in. A blue screen flashes. Astral Walker ability, Blink. He activates it instantly, vanishing in a streak of light and reappearing across the room. He lands safely, heart racing, but alive. Teleportation, 10 out of 10, would panic use again. Noah pulls the sword from his inventory mid-run and leaps into the air with surprising agility. The blade glows faintly as he brings it down in a clean arc, slashing through the enemy. He lands with a thud, ready to keep going. Not bad for a guy who was bleeding out 5 minutes ago. Noah slides across the floor, dodging a counterattack. His blade finds its mark, stabbing the cult chief. Without missing a beat, he shouts for Aurelia. She answers the call, slamming her flaming fist into the ground and triggering a fiery eruption that shakes the entire chamber. The void lashes out, tendrils wrapping around Aurelia. But she's not having it. Flames burst from her body as she breaks free and hurls a fireball straight at the cultists. The blast sends them scattering like roaches under a flashlight. Aurelia launches herself into the air and descends like a meteor, fists blazing. She unleashes a brutal combo, punch after punch landing with explosive force. The cult chief barely manages to stay upright as she prepares one final, devastating strike. Aurelia delivers the final blow, her fist crashing into the cult chief with a thunderous impact. Blue screens light up like a victory parade. Quest complete. Exsanguinator, Astral Walker, and Void Hunter all level up. 14 more attribute points unlocked. And the cherry on top, he gets a rare Tome of Affliction. Noah slumps to the ground, finally able to breathe. Finally, he mutters, half in relief, half in disbelief. Noah collapses, declaring it's over. Aurelia walks up, arms crossed, and tells him he's got some explaining to do. She demands to know why he was summoned by a summoning circle. He tries to play it cool with a sarcastic, "You're welcome," but she's not amused. She warns him that she's been betrayed once already today and isn't about to trust someone who might be a shape-shifting monster. Then she asks the big question, "Are you human?" Noah hesitates, knowing the truth might get him killed. He wonders if she'd strike him down just for not being from this world, but then he looks her in the eye and answers honestly, "No, I am not." Aurelia's expression tightens, unsure whether to attack or listen. Noah repeats himself. He's not from here. Aurelia presses further, asking if he's with the cultists. He says no. She asks about the Iron Fists. He stands up, confused, and asks who they even are. She tells him to just answer the question. He insists he's never even heard of them. And judging by his face, he's not lying. Aurelia softens and apologizes for how she acted. She explains that nothing about him made sense, and she'd already been betrayed by her own adventuring team earlier. Noah nods, understanding. She admits she's been on edge. He jokes that in his defense, the quest literally said don't die as an optional objective, so he wasn't about to rush in. She blinks, confused. Quest? Don't die. He explains it's an RPG thing, like role-playing games. His astral script just happens to look like one. Totally normal multiverse nonsense. Aurelia blinks, clearly thrown off by Noah's weird gamer jargon. He waves it off and finally introduces himself properly, admitting he's new to this world. He explains he died at work classic corporate burnout, and then woke up here. She narrows her eyes and says that resurrections don't just happen unless a god is involved, and points out that he somehow knew her name. Noah shrugs and says that came from his quest too, and honestly none of this makes sense to him either. He's just as lost as she is. After a pause, she finally relents, saying that outerworlders like him are rare, which is why she was suspicious. But now she believes he's telling the truth. She walks over and sits down beside him, the tension between them finally starting to ease. Noah watches as Aurelia sits cross-legged and closes her eyes. Curious, he asks what she's doing. She calmly replies that she's meditating to replenish her mana. Then, without even opening her eyes, she glances his way and says that from the feel of his aura, he's running low too. Noah blinks, confused. He has an aura? Where? She opens one eye and explains that all awakened individuals have an aura. It surrounds them. She asks if his world had no awakened people at all. Noah's still stuck on the part where he apparently has an aura, and no one told him. Noah thinks for a second, then shrugs and says his world has magic tricks, if that counts. Aurelia raises an eyebrow and smirks, teasing him for picking the exsanguinator path on his first taste of real magic. He asks if that's a bad thing, wondering if he's already broken some taboo. She reassures him that as long as he doesn't dabble in necromancy or ritual sacrifice, the Adventurers Guild won't care. Then she reminds him they should really be meditating. As he sits down, a blue screen flashes. He's unlocked the skill meditation. His HP and MP bars begin to slowly refill, and for once, things feel manageable. While waiting for his mana to refill, Noah opens his status screen to see what else he can do. His stats show decent balance: Power 16, Agility 12, Constitution 15, Mystic 15. His abilities include Blood Drain from Exsanguinator, Blink from Astral Walker, and Obliterate from Void Hunter. Curious, he taps on Obliterate to see what it does. A surge of void energy rushes through him, and a warning flashes health draining. He winces but grins anyway. Good thing he picked Exsanguinator. Built-in healing for reckless experimentation? Absolutely clutch. A blue screen pops up, mana fully restored. Aurelia stretches her arms overhead and announces she's good to go. Noah stands up beside her, still feeling the aftershock of void magic. and follows her lead. Together, they head out of the ritual chamber, their footsteps echoing across the cracked stone floor, leaving the cult's wreckage behind them. As they search the area, Aurelia suddenly exclaims that she's found it and holds up a golden bracelet. Noah asks what it is, and she explains it's a storage device enchanted with space magic. Basically, a magical USB with infinite capacity. She says they can access its contents if they bring it to the city. Noah wonders aloud if he could store his inventory in something like that. Sounds super convenient. Aurelia agrees, but adds that these things are blood bonded. You can't open them unless you're the original user or have their key. If they can't find that, they'll need outside help to crack it open. Noah asks if he can take a look at the bracelet. Aurelia tosses it to him without hesitation. As soon as he touches it, a blue screen appears. His inventory system has detected the storage device. It asks if he wants to transfer the contents. He taps yes. Instantly, the loot floods in. 3 mana stones, 2 healing potions, a pair of twin daggers, a ring of abyssal eye, and the cult chief's robe. Aurelia, still scanning the room, casually mentions she's also looking for a cellar key. Noah's already thinking this bracelet just paid for itself. Aurelia notices the ring Noah's holding and asks where he got it. He explains it came from Victrol's storage dude was basically hoarding. Healing potions, daggers, books, a robe, a ring, and a whole stash of mana stones. She's impressed he could just pull that stuff out. Noah shrugs and says apparently, yeah. He grabs a shirt from the stash and changes. It's old and dirty, but still an upgrade from his blood-stained button-up. Then he holds out the ring, eyeing it suspiciously. Something about it just screams cursed. Aurelia glances at the ring and says it's definitely gross, but not cursed. It's an abyssal eye ring. It boosts mana capacity. Noah hesitantly slides it on, still unnerved by how the eye seems to stare back at him. A notification confirms it's equipped and lists its bonuses. Increased mana regen, higher constitution, and better perception. Not bad. Just as he's adjusting to the weird vibe, a cultist lunges from the shadows. Aurelia reacts instantly, flames igniting around her as she prepares to strike back. Noah glances at Aurelia and suddenly sees her level Flame Warden, level 68. That's nearly on par with the cult chief. She erupts into fire, ready to incinerate anything dumb enough to get close. Noah grins and draws the twin daggers he looted earlier, testing their weight. He gives them a few practice swings and nods in approval. Free weapons that actually feel balanced? Score. As they walk through the dim corridor, Aurelia glances over and asks if that was Noah's first time killing someone. He hesitates, then asks how she could tell. She replies that she's been doing this long enough to recognize the look in someone's eyes after their first real fight. It's not something you can fake. Noah asks why she keeps doing this, fighting, risking her life. Aurelia says it's partly for the respect and recognition, but mostly because she wants to help people. She can't sit idle while evil spreads. He asks if she regrets killing anyone. She shakes her head. Not today. Those cultists would have killed again if they hadn't stopped them. She then asks if he thinks he'd make a good adventurer. He answers confidently, saying yeah. She agrees, pointing out that even without powers and at a low level, he held his own. Aurelia tells him he handled a confusing situation. Well, he kept his cool and tried to de-escalate. Noah smiles and thanks her. Internally, he's thinking that all those hours spent playing RPGs and bluffing through job interviews might have actually prepared him for something. He then asks how to activate the tomes he picked up. Aurelia answers simply ritual magic. Aurelia explains that to activate a tome, he'll need a ritual circle, and to use the tome as a conduit. Noah starts to say he can draw one, but before he finishes, energy surges through his body. He looks at his hand and says he thinks he can use it directly. Aurelia stares at him in disbelief, because that's definitely not how this is supposed to work. A tome floats in front of him, glowing. A screen appears, asking if he'd like to use the Tome of Sight. He hovers over the yes button, ready to see what happens. Noah reaches out and touches the tome. Energy pulses through his finger, and he braces himself. Whatever's coming, there's no turning back now. In his mind, the words flash, Rise of the Devourer. The tome activates and prompts him to choose a path: Exsanguinator, Astral Walker, or Void Hunter. Noah selects Void Hunter. A notification confirms the ability Void Hunter's Eye has been unlocked. His ring of abyssal eye reacts, boosting the ability to level 3. A golden beam erupts from his forehead as the new power takes hold. Noah's eyes widen as his vision sharpens dramatically. Everything looks hyper-real, like he's seeing in 4K Ultra HD. He laughs, calling it the full isekai experience. Looking around, he notices glowing energy swirling around Aurelia. He thinks it's mana, but she corrects him. It's her aura. He holds up his hand and realizes he can see his own too. Noah grins like a kid on Christmas morning, calling the whole thing sick. Aurelia looks at him like he's lost it. He quickly clarifies, he meant the power, not the cult stuff. Then he grabs the second tome. A screen appears asking if he wants to use the Tome of Infliction. He selects yes. A red aura swirls around him as he unlocks Bleed Basic, level 1. It lets him inflict a bleed status on enemies and apply it to weapons. Aurelia nods in approval, saying that's a solid skill, usually only shows up in rare tomes or higher. Aurelia says it's time to move and tells Noah to eat an F-grade mana stone to recharge, but she warns him, don't eat anything above that. He asks what happens if he does. She explains mana poisoning. At 1 grade higher, he'll get a small strength boost but suffer for it later. 2 grades higher, the boost is faster but comes with paralysis. She flexes and says she can handle it, but for most people, it's painful, and sometimes lethal. Aurelia continues, saying if he eats anything higher than that, he might just explode on the spot if he's lucky. If not, it'll be a slow, excruciating death, as the mana tears him apart from the inside out. She stands up and says they've got work to do. As they walk down a new corridor, Noah asks if this is the way out. She says no. A place like this probably has a hidden chamber full of magical artifacts. She's here to clean house. Aurelia says she's also looking for anything connected to the person she was sent to find. Noah asks if there might be other survivors. She wraps her hands in cloth and says she was the last one. Everyone else was kept in isolated underground cells. Noah warns they could still trigger traps or run into leftover cultists. They move cautiously down the hallway, eyes sharp for danger. They reach a sealed door. Aurelia asks if Noah still has the storage device. He hands it to her, and she thanks him. She raises her hand, casting a spell that causes glowing runes to appear on the door's surface. As the magic activates, Noah silently wonders what could drive people so far off course. What makes them so lost? Aurelia studies the runes and mutters that the people here committed atrocities. She says human nature doesn't change, even across worlds. The allure of power, misguided beliefs, being born into the wrong family, or deceived by lies. It all leads people down dark paths. She turns and says every one of them was awakened. They weren't innocents. They were adults who chose this path willingly. They reach a section of wall that flickers in and out of reality. Noah notes it's an illusion meant to hide a trap. They'll need to jump over it. He clarifies that he's not defending the cultists they fought. He's thinking about the ones who didn't have a choice. Aurelia says there are ways to purge abyssal influence. The priests of Melian have been fighting the abyss for millennia. The ritual burns the corruption out, but it's brutal. It's used as punishment, and sometimes public execution. Noah sees a memory of cultists screaming in flames. Aurelia explains that the few who survive the ritual are never the same. He asks, what happens if it's a child who was forced into it? She answers coldly, they're executed painlessly. That's just how it is. Then she suddenly points ahead, telling him to look. They stop in front of a glowing door, pulsing with magical energy. Aurelia examines it briefly and confirms it's magically sealed. Without hesitation, she raises her hand and says she's going to punch it open. Flames spiral around her fist as she channels her power, fully ready to brute force the arcane lock like it owes her money. A fiery explosion rips through the door as Aurelia's punch detonates the seal. Noah sighs, watching the scorched remains of the doorway, and mutters that it's definitely one way to open a door. They step inside the newly revealed chamber. Noah scans the room and wonders aloud what this place is. Aurelia glances around and suggests it's probably the cult chief's study. Aurelia flips through one of the books scattered across the room but quickly dismisses it, saying, there's nothing important here. Noah shrugs and says if he were running a taboo cult, he'd be paranoid too. Any real loot or secrets are probably hidden somewhere else. She agrees with a nod, and they continue their search, moving deeper into the room. Noah pulls a dusty book from the shelf and immediately sneezes. A blue screen appears, offering to consume a rare skill book on abyssal summoning. He waves it off, saying now's not the time. He's focused on finding a secret area. Aurelia, watching his antics, asks what he's doing. He answers confidently that he's using movie logic, then starts stomping the floor, hoping for a hidden trigger like he's in a fantasy-themed escape room. Noah spots a book that doesn't quite match the others and pulls it. A glowing key materializes in his hand. He gives it a quick glance, then finds a hidden slot in the wall and inserts the key. With a soft click, something mechanical unlocks behind the shelves. The bookshelf rumbles and slides open, revealing a hidden passage. Aurelia steps forward in surprise, and asks how he even figured that out. Noah casually explains that in stories from his world, secret chambers are always hidden behind bookshelves. She shakes her head with a smirk, calling his world strange. Together, they step into the dark corridor beyond. Aurelia lights the way with a small flame as they walk deeper into the tunnel. Noah pauses, sensing something off. A blue system screen appears, notifying him of a hidden quest, blood behind the walls. It warns that they've strayed from their path, and uncovered secrets never meant to be found. The message ends ominously, asking if they'll heed the whispers of blood, or ignore them. Noah points down the corridor and explains that his new quest says they need to uncover a hidden mystery in this chamber. There's no listed reward, and the difficulty is unknown. Aurelia calls that ominous, and he agrees. He then tells her it's best she stays behind. When she asks why, he reminds her that she's barely awakened, and this place could be seriously dangerous. Aurelia kneels beside a bloodstained patch on the floor and tells him that F-rankers like him shouldn't even be near something this dangerous. He suggests they leave and regroup in a nearby town, but she shakes her head and says she can't. The team that betrayed her is still out there, and the others who were captured with her were all slaughtered before she was meant to be sacrificed. Aurelia adds that if she doesn't find the bodies of the others, they'll rise as undead. She can't let that happen. Noah immediately says he'll follow her. He's not letting her face this alone. She laughs and teases him, saying it's cute. He thinks he could even scratch something that could kill her. He reminds her he helped take down Victrol and his men. She admits that was just one fight, but to be fair, he's adapting surprisingly well. They continue deeper into the ruins, side by side. Aurelia glances at him and says he's really weird. He just grins and says they go left. They squeeze into a narrow corridor, and Noah complains about how cramped it is. She explains that its defensive architecture tight spaces slow down invaders. The walls here are mana-forged and nearly unbreakable. Noah watches her blast it with magic and thinks that a normal wall would have been toast by now. They spot another door at the end of the hallway. Noah asks if she's going to punch this one too, but Aurelia simply opens it calmly. Inside, they find a room filled with scattered papers and arcane diagrams. She confirms it. This is Victral's secret study. Noah slumps down, overwhelmed by the chaos of notes and symbols. He admits he doesn't understand any of it. Aurelia flips through a journal and explains that Victral had been trying to create a chimera as a familiar. The first prototype was a failure-strong regeneration but no real intelligence or potential. He had overloaded it with too many enhancements. She adds that she still regrets the loss of the second prototype. Aurelia continues reading. The second prototype had void affinity and retained some intelligence, but the process left it unstable. Victral had planned to use an E rank awakened as a stronger base. He even sent out a request to acquire one. Suddenly, Noah's system screen flashes quest complete. Reward: none. Before he can react, a monstrous scream erupts. Aurelia shouts for him to run, and they bolt as something massive stirs behind them. They sprint through the halls, the sound of something huge chasing them. Noah glances at Aurelia, who quickly checks the body of a fallen cultist to make sure he's really dead. Once she's sure, they keep running, adrenaline, keeping their legs moving. A dying cultist gasps out that the creature grieves for its master, who's now gone. Heavy thumps echo through the hall as a grotesque monster steps into view. Noah's system identifies it as a flesh-grafted horror, classification unknown. Aurelia freezes, recognizing it. Those were the prisoners who were with her. Somehow, they've been fused together. Thankfully, the creature doesn't seem interested in them yet. Aurelia exhales slowly, trying to stay calm. Inside the cage, one of the fused prisoners whispers, "Ring, master." Noah realizes with a jolt, it's looking at the ring on his hand. He clenches his fist and curses. The horror doesn't see him as an intruder. It sees him as its new master. The horror suddenly charges, its massive tongue flailing, and eyes locked on Noah. Aurelia steps in front of him and yells for it to back off, launching a wave of fire straight at it. The flames roar through the hallway as she tries to hold the creature back long enough for them to escape. Noah dodges a swipe and yells that this is literally the worst possible timing for a quest. A new quest screen appears. A familiar's vengeance. The creature recognizes Noah as the one who killed its master and now wants revenge. The horror mutters one word at a time. Master. Killed. Vengeance. As it stalks forward, claws dripping. The horror lunges with a furious shriek. Noah yells that they need to get out of here and bolts, narrowly dodging a strike. But he stumbles mid-run and crashes to the ground as the monster barrels forward. The ground cracks under the horror's weight as it stomps forward, chanting like a broken record. Killed, master. Die. It barrels toward them again, tongue lashing and eyes wild with rage. The horror grabs Noah mid-run. He shouts in panic and tries to activate his blink ability, but nothing happens. A system screen informs him his aura is suppressed. Blink can't be used. The creature grins, but before it can do more, Aurelia blasts it with fire, forcing it to release him. They retreat quickly, but the horror's central eye glows green. Aurelia activates her Void Hunter's eye, locking eyes with the creature. It snarls internally, "You, pest, exterminate," and charges again, more furious than ever. Aurelia slides across the floor and hurls another blast of fire. She growls that its health regeneration is absurdly high, and fire isn't doing much. She asks if there's any other way to kill it. As the horror mutates, growing spikes and shrieking louder, Noah clutches his head in pain and mutters, "What the hell is that noise?" A system alert flashes. He's under the effect of fear, but his resistance holds strong. The horror unleashes a barrage of black spikes, shrieking as it charges like a freight train with no brakes. Aurelia dives through the chaos, weaving between the spikes with fluid precision. Her fists ignite as she launches herself forward, unleashing a flurry of blazing strikes that hammer into the creature's core. One final punch lands hard, erupting in a fiery explosion that sends shockwaves through the chamber. Aurelia's flaming fist slams down like a meteor, driving the horror into the stone floor. The impact sends cracks spidering outward as fire bursts in every direction, engulfing the monster and lighting up the entire chamber like someone just dropped a nuke made of rage and napalm. Aurelia steps toward Noah and asks if he's alright. He winces, rubbing his ear, and says it's just some ringing. No big deal. But the horror isn't done. It staggers to its feet, body twitching and spikes twitching like it's rebooting from hell. The two brace themselves as the monster begins to spin again, winding up for another attack like a demonic blender. The horror spins violently, launching another wave of spikes in every direction. Noah and Aurelia split, dodging the deadly barrage. Without missing a beat, Aurelia bursts forward, flames coiling around her legs as she rockets toward the monster with a flying kick that could torch a tank. Aurelia dives in from above, her fist blazing like a comet. She crashes down on the horror's skull with a devastating punch that sends flames erupting across its body. As the creature reels, she lands smoothly, already winding up for the next hit like she's not even winded. Girl's built like a raid boss. The horror shrieks in panic, its many mouths screaming, "No!" over and over as Aurelia's flames consume it. The voices don't sound monstrous anymore. They sound human, desperate, terrified. Noah watches, unsettled, and thinks to himself that those voices sound way too helpless for something that just tried to eat them alive. Aurelia raises her arms and commands the flames to burn down everything in front of her. A massive firestorm erupts from her body, swallowing the horror whole. Its charred limbs flail inside the inferno as it's roasted alive, but somehow, it still doesn't stop moving. Noah stares at the burning wreck and wonders aloud. Why isn't it dead yet? The horror twitches, muttering broken thoughts about pain and how much it hurts. Then, with a sickening crack, its body contorts and mutates again, sprouting new limbs and shrieking like it's being reborn in agony. Another system alert pings. He's resisted the effect, but this thing clearly hasn't run out of nightmare fuel yet. Blue screens flood Noah's vision. He's been hit with a Terror 2 debuff. All attributes down 10%, mana regen down 10%, and health regen down 25%. He coughs hard, barely holding it together, and mutters a sharp curse. The horror doesn't wait. It lunges straight at him, teeth bared and limbs flailing like a possessed blender. The horror crashes down with full force, but Noah activates Blink just in time, vanishing in a shimmer of blue light. He reappears on the other side of the chamber, landing hard but safe. The system confirms Astral Walker Blink successfully executed. That was way too close for comfort. Noah sprints across the floor as the horror roars. Before it can reach him, Aurelia intercepts, slamming it with a brutal punch that sends it reeling. The creature shrieks in rage, but it's still not down. Its central eye swivels, locking onto Noah again with a scream that could shatter glass. Noah activates Blink again, warping behind the horror midair. A blue screen flashes Blink has reached level 2. He slashes across the creature's back, but it whips around and lands a vicious counterblow, knocking him back. He grits his teeth. This thing just won't quit. Aurelia hits the ground hard, flames sputtering around her. Noah sees her fall and shouts. Charging in, he activates Astral Walker Drafted Harmful, aiming to weaken the horror. But the creature resists the debuff, of course. He doesn't stop. With a roar, he brings his blade down on its skull, trying to crack through the layers of mutated flesh. The horror swings again, but Noah dodges and blinks out just in time. A warning pops up: mana at 9%. He quickly pulls out a mana stone and crushes it, restoring his energy to full. Another alert warns of minor mana poisoning, but he doesn't care. With renewed strength, he launches himself forward and slashes deep into the horror's side. Noah unleashes a relentless flurry of slashes, carving through the horror's flesh with precision and fury. Blood sprays across the chamber as he presses the assault, determined to end this nightmare before it gets any worse. Every strike is faster, sharper. He's not holding back anymore. Noah charges again, but his legs tremble, too much mana spent. He activates Exsanguinator Blood Drain, hoping to leech some strength back, but the horror resists. It lashes out, and he barely escapes by blinking away at the last second. This thing's got more resistances than a raid boss on patch day. Noah grips his sword and drives it deep into the horror's hide. Blue screens confirm he's inflicted bleed. Twice. But the creature resists the worst of it. His mana's down to 4%, but he doesn't stop. He leaps again, dodging another swipe and staying in the fight by sheer willpower. Noah drives his blade in and crunches another mana stone. His stats, spike power, constitution, agility, all boosted. But mana poisoning too kicks in. He blinks away just as the horror lunges, teleporting out of reach with a whoosh of blue light. He's burning through everything just to stay alive. Noah channels Void Hunter Obliterate and slams the horror with a surge of void energy that tears through its defenses. He leaps onto its back, landing with precision. His eyes narrow, fists clenched. This ends now. He unleashes a brutal combo, slashing again and again, carving deep into the horror's spine. Blood pours from the wounds as system messages Flash, Obliterate, and Blink have both reached level 3. He leaps away just as the creature collapses, its body twitching violently on the floor. Noah raises his sword and declares this ends now. He plunges the blade straight through the horror's mouth, silencing its shriek mid-scream. System alerts confirm the terror debuff has ended, attributes restored, but new afflictions hit, careless and daggered. His mana's nearly gone. Aurelia watches, exasperated, and asks the question on everyone's mind. Why won't this thing just die? The horror roars back, furious and unkillable. It lunges with its mouth wide open, tongue whipping out like a spear. In one swift motion, it coils around Noah, wrapping him in its crushing grip. This thing's got more comebacks than a bad sequel. Noah is dragged into the horror's gaping maw, its teeth pressing in as it begins to swallow him whole. Aurelia watches from across the chamber, frozen in horror. The monster gulps him down, its body shuddering as it devours him like a cursed spaghetti noodle. Inside the monster's gut, Noah stabs wildly, triggering bleed and activating blood drain. His health ticks back up, but he's hit with paralysis. No time to care. He carves his way out from the inside, blood spraying as he tears through muscle and flesh. The horror collapses with a sickening thud, its body finally giving out. Noah pulls himself free and stretches, drenched in blood and barely standing. He looks down at the horror's corpse, surrounded by the remains of the battle. The red glow fades from the room as he exhales slowly. Finally, it's over. As the blood-drenched silence settles, Noah staggers forward, each step echoing across the ruined chamber. A barrage of system notifications lights up the air like a victory parade. He's officially defeated the flesh-grafted horror, an uncommon level 104 monstrosity. His classes Exsanguinator, Astral Walker, and Void Hunter all level up. His stats spike across the board. Power, Agility, Constitution, Mystic. 30 free attribute points drop into his lap, like a bonus round in hell. Then comes the real prize. The quest of Familiar's vengeance is complete, including the hidden objective to kill Victrol's familiar. The reward tier jumps to legendary, and with it, Noah receives the Tome of Lifeblood. But the system isn't done. A final message confirms he's absorbed the horror's essence, unlocking new potential. Whatever that means, it's already in motion. The system confirms it. Noah has absorbed the flesh-grafted horror, progress now at 19 out of 100. Another screen flashes, unlocking in progress. But his body's had enough. He slumps to the ground, bloodied and drained. Across the chamber, Aurelia watches in silence, the aftermath of carnage stretching between them. Darkness fades as Noah groans and forces himself upright, blood still dripping from his wounds. He sits cross-legged, focusing inward. A blue screen confirms he's entered meditation mana regeneration, increased by 100%. He closes his eyes, letting the silence refill what the battle drained. A sudden jolt of pain rips through Noah's body, dropping him back to the ground. The system floods him with bad news. Migraines, mana poisoning, exhaustion, mana fatigue. His health stabilizes at 61%, but he's barely holding on. Footsteps approach. Aurelia peers down and casually asks if he's doing all right. Noah groans that he wishes he wasn't. Aurelia walks closer, admitting she still can't believe he saved her life twice. She says it's a miracle. Either of them are still breathing. She pauses, frustrated with herself for getting taken out so easily, even if she was exhausted. Then she notices the symptoms and identifies mana poisoning. Noah asks if that's something to worry about. She shrugs and replies, not really. Aurelia explains that while mana poisoning can get nasty, it's rarely fatal. There's a simple fix. Just release all your mana until you're empty. Noah nods and focuses, channeling the corrupted energy out of his system. The blue screen confirms. He's draining mana. Noah's body trembles as he forces every last drop of mana out. The system flashes a warning mana dangerously low. Then, finally, the affliction is removed. He collapses, gasping for breath. Aurelia calmly tells him it'll feel weird for a while, but he should wait for his mana to regenerate naturally. She tells him it'll take a day or two for his mana regen to return to normal. Noah, still lying in a puddle of his own blood, asks if she's got water, or, better yet, a healing potion. She hands one over and he gulps it down. Feeling slightly less like roadkill, he thinks about the road ahead. If he's serious about adventuring, he'll need more than grit. It's time to use the Tome of Lifeblood. Noah opens the legendary tome, and golden energy bursts from the pages. The system grants him a new ability, Lifeblood. His blood now stores life force, allowing him to trigger powerful healing bursts and boosting his regeneration permanently. It even grants immunity to low-grade poisons. Aurelia senses the surge of power and asks what it does. Noah explains he can now stockpile health like a living medkit. Aurelia crosses her arms and complains that he keeps getting all the busted abilities. Noah shrugs and says from his perspective, a world with magic at all is the real cheat code. She admits that's fair. Just then, another system screen appears. Something mysterious has unlocked. Noah doesn't hesitate. He swipes yes. The system reveals he's unlocked a, quote, shard of finite potential. Noah figures it might help boost his identify skill. But the item's description is glitchy. Some words are missing. He asks if that's normal. Aurelia explains that sealed items or weak skills can cause incomplete descriptions, though sometimes the item itself is just broken. He decides to consume it anyway. The system responds instantly, unlocking something deeper. Blue screens flood his vision, dinging nonstop. Noah panics, yelling out in confusion. What does, quote, modifying genetic code even mean? The system offers no clarification, just more cryptic messages. Aurelia notices his reaction and calls out, asking what's wrong. The system drops a new quest. Shards of? Apparently, he stumbled into something massive. He collapses as the transformation completes. Then, another message. The Devourer has applied Purify on him. Noah stares at the screen, confused. Purify? On him? Before he can react, he's engulfed in crimson light. Noah coughs violently, black sludge pouring from his mouth. The world spins around him as dizziness takes over. A system message confirms he's been purified. Afflictions removed, magical abilities enhanced, and all attributes boosted by 5. Overwhelmed, he blacks out. Aurelia watches him, stunned by how much toxic sludge just came out of one guy. She wonders what kind of cursed environment he came from to be that messed up. Meanwhile, Noah reflects on how just yesterday he was having a terrible day at work. Now he can absorb blood and summon powers from thin air. He lets the hot water wash over him, trying to process the whiplash of his new reality. The system dings again. He's been afflicted with cleanse, whatever that means, and he feels cleaner than ever. A second screen confirms the shower helped remove exhaustion. He dries off, gets dressed, and sits on the bed, finally feeling like a human again instead of a blood-soaked meat popsicle. His updated stats flash across the screen. Power 22, Agility 23, Constitution 26, Mystic 36, and 30 unspent points. Then comes the kicker. He's officially the Devourer. A primal hunger now walks with him, craving growth and combat. The ability grants increased experience against stronger enemies and boosts all attributes by 5%. Noah's mind reels. A 5% boost is no joke. The system clarifies that growth means his abilities can evolve through action and synthesis. As he processes this, void energy begins to swirl around him again. The system updates again. His stats jump across the board. Power 41, Agility 25, Constitution 35, Mystic 42. He awkwardly explains he just took a shower and asks if she wants one too. She smirks and says she already did while moving his unconscious body around. Noah blinks in confusion. Noah stretches and estimates he was out for maybe an hour or two. Then he looks around and asks if she's as sick of this place as he is. Aurelia doesn't hesitate. She grabs her gear and tells him it's time to go. There's somewhere else they need to be. Together, they sprint into the light of their next destination. Noah keeps teasing Aurelia about needing a shower. She insists again that she already took one. He squints, unconvinced. She casually ignites a bit of flame to burn away any grime. He admits that's actually kind of convenient. She explains it's one of the perks of fire magic. No need to worry about heat or cold. He's surprised she dislikes winter, since he loves it. Snowball fights and frosty mornings were the best parts of his childhood. As they walk through a sunlit corridor, Noah wonders aloud if Aurelia would like ice cream. She doesn't know what that is. He explains it's a cold, sugary treat and one of humanity's greatest inventions. Right after pizza. She stares at him, unsure if the translation spell is failing or if he's just weird. He shrugs and suggests they step outside. They dash into the sunlight, ready for whatever comes next. They emerge into a lush forest, birds chirping above. Noah looks up and marvels at the sky, then freezes. 2 suns. He blurts out that it's weird. Aurelia counters that it's weird he doesn't have 2. He asks how they measure day and night. She explains it's day when both suns rise and night when they set. Though in winter, the first dawn doesn't always bring enough light. Aurelia adds that the day only officially starts once both suns are fully out. Noah thinks to himself, first dawn, huh? A system message interrupts. Quest. Run, complete. Reward. MPA system unlocked. Suddenly, something flashes in the bushes. Aurelia asks if he found what he was looking for. He holds up a small charm, explaining it's a protective trinket given to children to ward off evil. Not magical, just symbolic. But in his mind, a new thought forms. Could this mean something more? Noah holds up a small necklace, explaining that he found it in one of the prison cells. A blue quest screen appears, titled Lost Remembrance, instructing him to return the necklace to someone in Leifa village for experience points. Aurelia immediately realizes this means they'll be heading out soon. Noah agrees, but suggests they set up camp for the night, since the suns will be down in a few hours. She declares that since this is his first real adventuring quest, she'll have to show him the ropes as his senior. Noah bows dramatically, and says he's looking forward to learning from her, calling her senpai. She pauses, suspicious, and mutters that she feels like he's mocking her but can't quite prove it. Morning breaks with birds chirping overhead as sunlight filters through the dense forest canopy. Noah, still waking up, mutters that he wouldn't dare question anything anymore. As he steps out, his eyes widen at the sight of 2 massive armored beasts lumbering toward him. Aurelia casually rides one and explains that they're wild armadillos she found nearby. According to her, they're the best way to travel through thick forest terrain like this. Noah stares, still trying to process the fact that his fantasy world taxi is basically a tank with legs. Noah eyes the creatures warily and asks if there's any chance the armadillos might decide to eat them instead. Aurelia confidently replies no, hopping onto one with ease. She explains that armadillos are herbivores and generally tame, especially if you keep them fed. In fact, they're known to assist humans in exchange for food. Noah nods slowly, still not entirely convinced but willing to trust her judgment. He mutters that he sees, though deep down he's wondering if this is how people in this world end up as cautionary tales. As Aurelia leads the way deeper into the forest, Noah trails behind, watching the armadillos munch peacefully on the underbrush. He cautiously approaches one and climbs onto its back, trying to mimic what she did earlier. The beast shifts under him, nearly throwing him off. He grabs on tightly, heart racing. Just as he steadies himself, a strange sound echoes from the nearby foliage. Something skittering, low and fast. Noah freezes, unsure if it's just wildlife or something worse. Aurelia laughs from ahead, clearly enjoying the ride while Noah clings to his armadillo like a rodeo rookie. She calls back for him to keep up. Desperate not to be left behind, Noah activates his Astral Walker blink ability and teleports forward, landing perfectly atop his mount with a triumphant pose. He shouts for the creature to follow the others, trying to sound confident even as it snorts in response. The beast obeys, though Noah's grip says he's one tail flick away from disaster. Aurelia checks in, asking if Noah's ready. He barely gets out a nervous, "Wait, hold on," before she yells for them to go. The armadillos burst into motion, charging through the forest with surprising speed. Noah holds on for dear life, yelling at her to slow down. Trees whip past in a blur, and he's already regretting not asking for seatbelts. He wheezes, clinging to the creature's back, and shouts that he's going to fall. The armadillo jolts, and Noah is launched into the air with a scream. Mid-air, he activates Blink again and reappears clutching a tree branch, panting hard. But the branch can't hold his weight. It cracks, and he plummets. He crashes to the ground with a loud thud, knocking the wind out of himself. All he can manage is a pained curse, as leaves rain down around him like nature's confetti for his failure. Noah groans from where he landed, sprawled awkwardly against a tree. One of the armadillos waddles over and gives his face a long, sloppy lick. He mutters in disgust that it's gross. Aurelia bursts into laughter from atop her mount. Aurelia laughs even harder, clearly enjoying the show. Noah glares up at her and mutters that he's glad someone's having fun, even if it's at his expense. The armadillo snorts again, like it's in on the joke. Noah climbs back onto his armadillo, this time with a bit more caution. Aurelia smirks and asks if he's finally having fun. He grins wide and says it's the most fun he's ever had, almost like flying on a dragon's back. That catches her attention. She asks if his world has dragons too. He explains they do, but only in stories, movies, and myths. They're not real, where he comes from, just legendary creatures that never existed. She looks intrigued, clearly trying to wrap her head around a world without magic. Noah clarifies that the closest thing Earth had to dragons were dinosaurs, massive reptiles that lived millions of years ago, but they went extinct long before humans ever showed up. Aurelia responds that maybe that's for the best. Elder dragons in her world are city-destroying nightmares. Though it's been centuries since one was seen, some believe they're just myths fabricated to cover up attacks from elite awakened groups. Noah raises an eyebrow, thinking that's one wild conspiracy theory, but honestly, it tracks with everything else he's seen here. Aurelia asks what Noah thinks. Could dragons be real? He says he's seen things that defy logic, so he doesn't see why dragons couldn't exist too. She agrees, saying she's met something once that made her question everything. But before she can elaborate, the forest abruptly ends. Noah looks around in confusion as she explains they'll need to continue on foot from here. He asks how far Leifa village is. She estimates about 4 hours on foot. Aurelia confirms it'll take about 4 hours from here. As they dismount and the armadillos clack along the dirt path, she turns to Noah with a smile and offers to tell him more about the world of Irandir while they walk. The journey continues, and the words "Rise of the Devourer" flash across Noah's mind as the story prepares to deepen. As they approach the village, the rhythmic clack of armadillo feet echoes down the path. Children spot them first and shout excitedly, calling out that adventurers have arrived. The path ahead fills with curious villagers eager to greet the newcomers. Noah and Aurelia ride into Leifa village as a crowd gathers to welcome them. People wave, cheer, and shout greetings. Noah leans over and asks if this kind of reception is normal for her. She just smiles as the villagers continue their enthusiastic welcome, clearly used to the attention. Aurelia chuckles and says this kind of welcome only happens in small villages like this one. Noah watches the crowd with a smile, thinking to himself that he could get used to this. The villagers chatter excitedly as the two adventurers ride through the main street, eventually dismounting near the town center. Noah pats his armadillo and thanks it for the ride. A nearby villager asks if they can get the mounts some hay. Aurelia hands over a pouch and instructs them to crush the manacores inside and mix them into the feed. Noah raises an eyebrow, asking if that's a tip or payment. She explains that giving a little extra to the workers makes life easier. Noah chuckles, realizing that some wisdom really does translate across worlds. Aurelia warns Noah that nothing about him is common sense in this world, and advises him to keep his background vague. He asks if it's really that serious. She explains that while seasoned adventurers might accept outsiders, villagers on the edge of civilization would treat him like a talking plant. And honestly, that might raise fewer eyebrows. They step into the village inn, where the innkeeper greets them warmly. The innkeeper asks how long they'll be staying. Aurelia answers they'll take the last room on the second floor. Noah offers her the chance to rest, but she declines, saying she has things to do. He decides to hang around downstairs and maybe explore a bit. For once, he's in a place where no one is trying to kill him, and honestly, that's worth savoring. Before leaving, Aurelia pats Noah's shoulder and tells him to stop saying dumb things. She heads out, telling him to grab the room key if he wants to crash before she's back. The innkeeper chuckles, calling her feisty, but admits that's part of her charm. He offers Noah some ale, joking that anyone coming from the Lost Woods is either an idiot or an adventurer. And either way, they'll need a drink. Noah shrugs and agrees to the drink, saying it's a bit early, but he could use it. The innkeeper calls for a mug of ale and asks for Noah's name. He introduces himself as Noah Brown and admits he just awakened yesterday. The innkeeper nearly spits out his drink, swearing in disbelief that someone could awaken that recently. The innkeeper asks what Noah's doing running around with an E-ranker. He warns that if it's for gold, it's not worth dying over. Noah explains that it wasn't a choice. He was forced to awaken during a life-threatening situation and only survived by sheer luck. Aurelia is just helping him adjust. The innkeeper nods, saying it reminds him of his younger days. He introduces himself as Lorian. A system notification flashes, Skill Carved Warrior, 9. Noah asks if Lorian used to be an adventurer too. Lorian confirms he used to be an adventurer but lost his magic in an accident and decided to retire. He's just grateful to still be alive. Noah asks what kind of monster could do that. Lorian shakes his head, saying he has no idea. During a dungeon quest up north, something translucent and otherworldly emerged from the depths. It moved so fast they couldn't react. 2 teammates died instantly, another was blinded, and Lorian lost his mana. To this day, he's never seen or heard of that creature again. Noah downs his drink, but a system alert pops up. He's been inflicted with intoxication. A second alert immediately clears it, thanks to his lifeblood ability. He groans, realizing he can't even get drunk. Lorian laughs and asks if it's a constitution ability. Noah confirms and quickly deactivates it. Another alert confirms lifeblood has been turned off. He cheers and calls for another mug, ready to celebrate. Lorian chuckles and says the ability is handy for curing hangovers too. Noah laughs, declaring it the best ability ever. After a short while and a few more drinks, Noah gets tipsy again, only for lifeblood to auto-clear the intoxication once more. He flinches and mutters that he forgot to ask something. He brings up the missing villagers Lorian mentioned earlier. Lorian nods solemnly and explains that people have been disappearing in the woods. Lorian explains it started about 6 months ago. 2 villagers went missing, and when others went to look, they never came back. Even adventurers searched the area, but found nothing. Eventually, people gave up and stopped entering the forest. Then the mines collapsed. Rescue teams found no survivors, and the villagers decided to seal the mines. Now they're considering sealing them permanently, though some are protesting. Without the mines' income, the village might not survive the winter. Lorian explains that lately, there have been strange howls and cries coming from the woods. People are starting to whisper about undead, and if an infestation really is forming, the guild might intervene. That would mean a full evacuation of the village, something no one wants. Noah finishes his drink, the weight of that warning lingering in his mind, and steps out into the sunlit street. He stretches and starts walking, the quiet buzz of village life around him, feeling just a little more fragile now. As Noah walks through the cobbled streets, he catches snippets of worried conversations. A man mutters that the mayor plans to seal the mines. Another adds that one of the adventurers who returned mentioned something strange. Panic is starting to spread. A woman frets about surviving the winter without the mine's income. Someone else says the village will collapse without it. The crowd grows, murmurs rising like a tide. Noah realizes this isn't just a local inconvenience. It's a full-blown crisis in the making. Noah steps into a packed hall where tension crackles in the air. The mayor, identified by a blue screen as Stone-Carved Mayor P3, stands at the front, trying to hold his ground. A burly, bearded man slams his fist down, shouting that he won't let the town starve just to play it safe. The mayor raises his hands, urging calm, insisting he is just as concerned as everyone else. He says he's trying to act in the village's best interests, but the crowd isn't buying it. Everyone's scared, and fear makes people loud. Noah and Aurelia push their way through the crowd. A villager eyes them suspiciously and asks what they're doing here. Noah fires back that he could ask the same, but clarifies he came to speak with the mayor privately and get information about the adventuring team that betrayed him. The man points out that this situation doesn't exactly scream private meeting. Noah shrugs, saying he had a drink, chatted with the innkeeper, and somehow ended up here. Aurelia suggests they help out, since they don't have much to travel with anyway. Noah agrees. It's all connected now. Aurelia nudges Noah and tells him to be more assertive, then smirks and says to watch and learn. As Noah steps forward, someone calls out his name, asking what he's doing. He raises his voice, addressing the 2 men at the center of the argument. He tells them that fighting like this isn't helping anyone. They both want the village to survive. So why not work together to find a solution, instead of arguing over who's right? The room quiets slightly. One of the men squints at him and asks the obvious question. Who in the depths is this guy? As the tension simmers in the room, the story pauses briefly to show Chibi, Noah, and Aurelia, one smug, the other clearly not crying. Meanwhile, the villagers continue murmuring, unsure what to make of the newcomer who just tried to play peacemaker in a crisis meeting. Noah steps forward and introduces himself confidently as Noah Brown, a newly awakened adventurer, and, as he puts it, the solution to their problems. He explains that the village's issue is simple. Something's going on in the mines. Someone needs to go in and investigate, but it's dangerous. What they need is someone who's both willing and able to come back alive. He snaps his fingers with a grin, asking the crowd if they're picking up what he's putting down. A gruff dwarf scoffs and demands to know why they should send a rookie into danger. Noah calmly replies that he's not going alone. Aurelia's coming too. She steps up and introduces herself as an E-rank adventurer who was hired by someone in the village a few days ago. She believes the current problem might be connected to her original quest. The mayor asks if she came with a team. Aurelia nods, explaining that part of her reason for being here is to find them, and she's willing to make a stop to handle this issue along the way. Noah smirks and says he'll help, for fair compensation of course. The mayor agrees and asks him to name his price. Noah inquires if the village has any ability tomes. The mayor admits they have some, but they might not work for him. He suggests heading to Winoa City instead, where the guild hall is located and adventuring gear is more common. Aurelia confirms it's their next stop anyway. As for the current job, she says a D-grade mana stone and 2 horses will do just fine. The dwarf steps forward and says he'll join them. He's worked in the mines for 40 years and knows them better than anyone. The mayor nods, saying it's settled. He shakes Noah's hand, sealing the deal. A system alert flashes. New quest obtained. Trouble in the mines. Medium difficulty. Reward. Experience points. Aurelia turns to Noah, saying it's her turn now. A villager eyes Noah and asks where he's from. He says he just awakened, but the man notes he looks a little old for that. Noah explains that he comes from a place far away where there was no magic, which is why he only recently awakened. The dwarf raises an eyebrow and asks if he's from a dead zone. Noah is confused, so the dwarf explains, dead zones, also called death zones, are places completely devoid of mana. They drain the life from everything and are barren, cursed wastelands. Noah thinks back and says his home was more rocks than trees, and definitely not full of wildlife, but he wouldn't call it a dead zone. Just boring. The dwarf nods and says that if Noah really can solve this, he'll be doing the village a huge favor. Noah responds with a confident, of course. They shake hands, sealing the agreement. As they leave, Aurelia asks if he found anything. Noah tells her the team should be in Winoa City, and that they can also get her officially registered with the guild while they're there. Aurelia says they should get this done quickly. Noah nods in agreement. She mentions needing to return something first, and he offers to come along. She agrees, and the two of them walk side by side down a tree-lined path, the late afternoon sun casting a warm glow over the road ahead. They arrive at a modest home and knock on the door. A woman answers, and her expression shifts the moment she sees them. Aurelia gently holds out a necklace and says it belongs to her. The woman's breath catches. She stares at the pendant and whispers that it's Pierce's. The woman clutches the necklace and asks, her voice trembling, if they found him. Aurelia slowly shakes her head. The woman's shoulders sag, and another woman steps forward from inside, asking if they can help her inside. Noah and Aurelia step in, offering quiet support. Inside the house, the daughter gently tells her mother to calm down. She says they had prepared themselves. No one had come back. She thanks Noah and Aurelia for returning Pierce's necklace. It hurts, she says, but at least now they can begin to move on. She admits they have nothing to offer as payment. Noah assures her it's fine. They're continuing the quest by heading into the mines anyway. Aurelia lowers her head and apologizes, saying she wishes she could have done more. Noah places a reassuring hand on her shoulder. The woman begins to excuse herself, but Aurelia stops her. She says she wants to know what happened, anything that might help. The woman explains that Pierce, along with many others from this village and nearby ones, were taken by abyssal cultists. These cultists had been performing blood sacrifices. Aurelia and her companion barely escaped with their lives. It was a nightmare, but they made it out. Aurelia adds that if it weren't for Noah, she wouldn't have survived. After the escape, they searched for survivors but found none. All she recovered was the necklace. The woman asks, her voice barely above a whisper, if they killed the cultists. Noah answers without hesitation, yes. Every single one of them. The woman begins to talk about Pierce. He had just turned 14, always reckless, always sneaking off to hunt small monsters in the woods. She had warned him, begged him to stop. But he never listened. His father had been an adventurer too. Even after settling down, the adventurer's spirit never really left him. Eventually, she lost him. Pierce had inherited that same fire. She had tried to stop him. Pleaded, even threatened. But it wasn't enough. She says she knew in her heart that she couldn't change him. Even if she forced him to stay, it would have eaten away at him. She looks at Noah and Aurelia and asks if that same drive lives in them. Is that why they do this? Noah hesitates, then admits he's not sure. Everything so far has been a scramble to survive in a world he barely understands. At first, he thought he was just running from his past. But now, the idea of being an adventurer, it's starting to feel right. Noah admits that the magic itself is addictive, and he wants to explore this world. The woman looks confused, asking what he means. He clarifies that he's not from around here. This place feels like a whole new world to him. She nods, then steps forward and makes a request. She asks him to take something with him on his journey. She believes Pierce would have wanted that. Noah takes the necklace and promises to treasure it. The woman thanks them both, her voice full of quiet gratitude. A system alert flashes: quest, lost remembrance. Complete. Reward, experience points obtained. Noah and Aurelia step outside, waving goodbye as the sun begins to set behind the village. Aurelia suggests they head to bed. They've got an early start tomorrow for the mines. Noah agrees, but says he's mostly looking forward to food. Fighting monsters on an empty stomach sounds like a bad idea. Aurelia chuckles and says if she didn't already know better, she'd think he had experience as an adventurer. They walk together through the village, the sky glowing with the last light of day. The story pauses briefly, with a chibi interlude. Noah insists he's not crying, while Aurelia clearly is. Meanwhile, the next day dawns bright and clear, birds chirping over a peaceful forest. But peace never lasts long in a world like this. The next morning, Noah, Aurelia, and the dwarf stand before a ruined hill. The dwarf explains that it used to be a young dungeon, just starting to form chambers, until something killed the core, leaving it a husk. Noah is surprised. Dungeons can die? The dwarf confirms they can, and they do. Kill the core, and the whole thing collapses. Aurelia adds that a tamed dungeon is one of the most valuable resources anyone can have. Entire kingdoms fight over them. Noah wonders if it was an undead dungeon. Aurelia's tone shifts. Those are nation-level threats. If that's what they're dealing with, every guild in the region would have mobilized to stop it before it could spread. The dwarf confirms it's just a typical Earth-type dungeon, nothing fancy. He gestures toward a collapsed slope of boulders and declares they've arrived. Noah eyes the rubble and wonders aloud if he could just blast through it with obliterate. With zero hesitation and a tap of the wall, he decides to find out. The next second, he's already swinging into action, carving a path through the rock like it owes him money. They step into the mine, dim light filtering through the entrance. Aurelia asks if that flashy move was one of Noah's abilities. The dwarf answers instead, saying it takes a decade of experience and a bit of talent. As they walk deeper, he points out the glowing veins in the wall's mana stones, naturally embedded in the cave. Normally, the entrance would be stripped clean, but since no one's mined here in ages, the dungeon has started to regenerate. Aurelia warns Noah to stay alert. Former dungeons are unpredictable, and monsters could be lurking. Noah nods, eyes sharp, ready for whatever comes next. Noah senses something's off. The dwarf notes that normally there'd be critters scurrying around, but ever since the strange noises started, it's been dead silent. They reach a large sealed door. Beyond it lies the main section of the mines. With a push, the door creaks open, revealing a horrific sight. Blood stains the ground and bodies lie scattered across the chamber like broken dolls. Whatever happened here wasn't a simple cave-in. A wave of rot hits them like a truck. Noah instinctively covers his mouth, barely holding back a gag. The dwarf shouts for everyone to stop, but Aurelia is already moving, dashing into the room. Not wanting to be left behind or outdone, Noah activates Blink and teleports ahead, hoping to get a clearer look before things go sideways. Noah lands near a bloodied corpse and cautiously approaches. He kneels beside it, trying to assess if there's any life left. Speaking softly, he tells the figure, "It's okay. They're here now." He asks what happened and where the danger is. The figure stirs, eyes wide with terror. With her last breath, she chokes out a single word. "Run." Noah's blood runs cold. Before Noah can react, dark tendrils explode from the ground and wrap around him. He screams as they pull tight, and a system alert flashes: void-grafted human, level unknown. Aurelia yells for him to get away. Another alert dings, confirming their previous quest is complete, but a new one pops up instantly: Victral Nafar's legacy. The monster howls, its body writhing in agony as the transformation begins. The tendrils constrict tighter around Noah, holding him in place. Aurelia ignites her flames, warning Jerome to back up even further. This thing's about to go nuclear. Jerome gives a grim nod and steps back. The creature's body twists unnaturally, shadow energy pulsing as it begins to change shape. Whatever it was before, it's becoming something far worse. Noah breaks free and leaps back, slashing at the tendrils mid-air. He activates Blink, warping across the battlefield. But the monster follows instantly, teleporting with the same skill. Noah gulps, realizing this thing's not just strong. It's got his moves too. A wall of fire erupts nearby, lighting the battlefield in orange. Aurelia readies another spell, flames dancing in her hands. Noah scans the area, confused. Then he spots it, dripping from the ceiling like a nightmare. He yells out, warning the others that the monster's above them. Everyone immediately shifts into high alert. The monster lunges from above, but Noah vanishes with Blink just in time. He reappears with his sword drawn, slashing as the creature crashes down. Tendrils whip toward him, and he barely blocks in time. Every strike is a gamble now, one wrong move, and he's toast. Aurelia unleashes a torrent of fire, slamming the monster back. It shrieks in pain, its shadowy flesh sizzling under the heat. But she doesn't let up, she keeps pressing forward, flames roaring as she forces the creature to retreat. The monster tries to retreat into the shadows, but Aurelia leaps high and crashes down like a meteor. A fiery explosion erupts on impact, engulfing the creature in a blazing inferno. The cavern shakes from the force of her strike. Noah focuses, then dashes forward with everything he's got. He drives his blade deep into the monster's chest, triggering a system alert. Bleed inflicted, lifeblood drain activated. He watches as the creature's energy starts to siphon into him. The monster shrieks and lashes out violently. Noah is flung backward, and another alert appears. Lifeblood partially resisted necrosis poison, but he's still infected. Gritting his teeth, he slashes through the tendrils, even as one wraps around his chest and knocks the wind out of him. A flash of light signals another blink as Noah dodges a lethal strike. His health bar flashes red down to 7%. He gulps down a potion mid-sprint, gaining poison resistance just in time. The moment it kicks in, he charges back into the fray, joining Aurelia in a synchronized assault against the monster. Aurelia fires another blazing shot, engulfing the monster in flames. It collapses, smoke rising from the charred remains. But Noah frowns. Something feels wrong. The tendrils twitch, and the creature begins to mutate again. A new alert flashes: abyssal grafted human, level unknown. They need to finish this before it's too late. Under a bright sky, Noah and Aurelia ride side by side into a nearby village. The peaceful road is soon filled with cheers as villagers rush to greet them. Children shout excitedly, pointing at the adventurers. One kid asks if this is how Aurelia gets welcomed everywhere. Noah just raises an eyebrow, clearly not used to the celebrity treatment. Back in the cave, the monster's body twists grotesquely, tendrils spreading like roots. A system alert confirms it. Abyssal grafted human transformation in progress. Energy begins to surge around it. Noah doesn't wait. He dashes forward, determined to end it before the transformation completes. Aurelia leaps into action, shouting for Noah to fall back. But he's already mid-swing, trying to cut through the monster's tendrils. One lashes out, smacking him hard across the face. Dazed, he stumbles back as the creature's eye glows with deadly intent. The monster detonates in a blast of dark energy. Noah is caught in the shockwave and flung back. Alerts flood his vision. Critical hit. Limb lost. Stunned. Bleeding. His health drops to 21%, but lifeblood kicks in, boosting regeneration to 500%. He grits his teeth, refusing to go down like this. Noah crashes to the ground, missing an arm and barely conscious. He clutches his side, thinking that lifeblood is the only thing keeping him upright. He grabs his sword again, determined to end it. A new alert shows his mana regeneration has leveled up. Meanwhile, Aurelia unleashes a massive fireball, lighting up the cavern in a blinding blaze. Fueled by desperation and rage, Noah dashes straight at the monster. With a roar, he slams his fist into its face, channeling every ounce of strength left in his battered body. No sword, no spells, just raw fury. A system alert confirms it. Void Hunter, Obliterate activated. Noah slashes through the monster's defenses, but it bites back, tearing into his shoulder. More alerts follow. Poison resistance and lifeblood both reach level 3. Aurelia joins the assault, and together they push the creature back blow after blow. Aurelia yells for Noah to step back. He doesn't argue. She unleashes a massive burst of fire, engulfing the monster in a sea of flames. Noah watches from behind the inferno, eyes narrowed, hoping this is finally the end. The monster disappears again, slipping into the shadows. Noah shouts that it's gone, then suddenly gets an idea. He yells for Aurelia to flood the cavern with fire. If the creature can only teleport through shadows, then no shadows means no escape. Aurelia doesn't hesitate. Flames swirl around her as she prepares to light up the entire battlefield. Aurelia unleashes a blazing vortex that roars through the cavern, burning away every last shadow. The monster, desperate to escape, makes a break for it, but Noah is already there. He intercepts the creature mid-dash and drives his sword deep into its side. As it tries to vanish into the void, the portal flickers and collapses. The monster howls in agony, trapped in the inferno with nowhere left to run. The monster clutches the dwarf like a bargaining chip, but Noah steps forward, bloodied yet unwavering. He warns the creature not to gamble its life on a hostage. Instead, he raises a glowing artifact, the letter of the void god. The moment it appears, the air shifts. Noah tells the monster it should recognize this, and, more importantly, feel what it means. The creature hisses, visibly shaken by the presence of the letter. A system alert flashes Voidborn perk activated. Noah tells the creature that if it knows what this is, then it should also know he's tied to it. He demands it release the dwarf now. His voice cuts through the cavern like a blade. The monster hesitates, then hurls the dwarf aside and shrieks in fury, its authority suddenly shaken. Noah surges forward with a flash of light, his sword cleaving through the monster as Blink activates mid-strike. The creature reels from the blow, caught off guard by the sudden teleportation. From behind, Aurelia calls out that it's her turn now and charges in, flames already gathering around her fists. Aurelia launches herself into the air, spinning as flames spiral around her. She shouts for the monster to eat this and slams her entire body weight down into the attack. A massive firestorm erupts on impact, the explosion shaking the cavern and lighting up the battlefield like a second sun. The firestorm dies down, leaving scorched rock and silence. Noah steps through the burning wreckage, his silhouette framed by the flames. The monster lies broken, its body charred and twitching. It lifts its head weakly and begs for death, voice trembling, eyes hollow. Noah raises his sword without hesitation. Noah drives his blade into the creature's chest, activating blood drain. A blue screen confirms the necrosis poison has been removed. The monster exhales one final time, whispering a broken thank you before going still. Another screen floods his vision. He's leveled up multiple classes, gained free stat points, and unlocked new abilities. The kill wasn't just mercy, it was a power surge. A new screen confirms it. Victrol Nefar's legacy is complete. The reward, a tome of abyssal summon. Noah reflects aloud that the miner was still alive, trapped inside that twisted shell. Aurelia calls it a terrible fate. Another prompt appears, asking if he wants to consume the abyssal grafted human. Without hesitation, he selects yes. Power rushes through him like fire through dry grass. A new screen confirms the Devourer perk has absorbed the abyssal grafted human. But the moment it activates, Noah collapses to his knees. Memories not his own flood, his mind torture, experiments, screams in the dark. He sees the name Victrol burned into his thoughts, alongside the symbol of the abyssal cult. Gritting his teeth, he swears vengeance. He's coming for them all. Noah's eyes burn with fury. He declares that he will find them and he will kill them, every last one. A new quest appears, Abyss Hunter. Objective: destroy the abyssal cult. Difficulty impossible. Reward unknown. Aurelia watches him quietly and says they need to get moving. He needs a healer before he collapses from blood loss and rage. With Aurelia supporting him, Noah limps out of the cavern. The battle is over, but the war has just begun. As they step into the light, the words echo in his mind, Rise of the Devourer. And he knows now that this is only the beginning. Noah wakes up on a couch, groggy and sore. Light filters in through the windows. Across from him, Dylan lounges with a bowl of cereal and greets him with a smug grin, calling him Sleeping Beauty. Noah glares and says he's not exactly thrilled to see him either. He demands to know why he's here. Dylan just smirks and says Noah already knows the answer. Noah frowns as flashes of the battle replay in his mind blood, fire, screams. Dylan munches cereal like he's watching a morning cartoon and casually remarks that Noah's world is fascinating. No magic can seep through it, yet it's just as violent as any other. He asks how Noah got access to those memories. Before Noah can answer, footsteps echo from down the hall. Dylan explains that the astral script is tied to Noah's soul, which means it can gather data from anything he's connected to. Noah admits he didn't expect to be stuck here this long, so he's been soaking up as much knowledge as possible. Dylan raises an eyebrow and asks if Noah didn't expect him to survive. Noah shrugs. Dylan chuckles and gives him a slow, sarcastic clap, saying he's exceeded expectations. Noah looks like he's resisting the urge to throw the cereal bowl at him. Noah stands up and snatches the remote, shutting off the TV. Dylan raises an eyebrow and asks what he's doing. Noah accuses him of trying to sabotage him. Dylan leans back dramatically and says he hasn't tried anything pack rules. But that doesn't mean he can't root for Noah's demise from the sidelines. Dylan jokes that betting on how badly Noah will mess up is half the fun. But then he gets serious and says they need to talk about the quest Noah just unlocked. Destroying the abyssal cult isn't something you just do on a whim. Noah smirks and says if Dylan thinks he can pull it off, maybe he should be flattered. Dylan says his personal beliefs are irrelevant. If Noah got the quest, then it doesn't violate the pact, so technically he can go through with it. Noah asks what it would take to make him give it up. Dylan warns that the cult has uses, even if they aren't directly void-linked. Killing them all would be wasteful. Noah shrugs and says, that sounds like Dylan's problem, not his. Dylan picks up the remote and says every human has a price, loved ones, dreams, something. He asks what Noah wants in return to drop this. Noah says there's always suffering in the world, but that doesn't mean you ignore it. Dylan presses harder, asking how many Noah will kill, how many he'll try to protect. Noah snaps back. Why does Dylan care so much? Dylan deflects, asking about the other cults. Noah replies that the abyss creatures didn't even know the void existed. That's what makes it worse. Dylan argues that the cultists were just chasing power. Nothing new. Noah fires back, saying not all of them were like that. Dylan calls him a fool and says he doesn't count. Noah throws his arms wide and says, fine. If he's such a fool, what would it take to change Dylan's mind? Dylan asks why the abyssal cult is such a big deal. Noah exhales and explains that the void isn't just some abstract force. It has a physical anchor. The astral realm is where void mana comes from, but there are also pockets of void in the real world. These are called the abyss, and they're the source of the cult's power. Pockets of void exist in physical realm called the abyss. This is the source of these cultists' power. Noah continues, these abyss pockets leak void energy into reality, letting creatures from the astral realm invade the physical world. The cult's goal is to expand these rifts. Noah accuses Dylan of handing out power without caring what happens next. Dylan shrugs and says what mortals do with their power isn't his concern. Noah shouts that Dylan clearly cares about the abyss expanding, so why act indifferent? Dylan calmly adjusts his tie and says the void's nature is to consume. It's not good or evil. It just is. Noah snaps and smashes the remote in frustration. He demands to know what about the suffering he saw, the pain, the children caught in the cult's grip. Dylan remains unmoved. He says Noah already got his revenge against someone he didn't even know. Why care now? Noah asks again, what would it take to make Dylan reconsider? Dylan flatly says nothing. Noah responds that he'll destroy the cult no matter what, even if he fails. For those who can be saved, he'll help them abandon the abyss. He confirms that the cult and its creatures are bound to him by pact. That means he has authority, and he intends to use it. Noah walks toward the door, thinking aloud. If the cult is bound to the void, and the void is bound to him, then by extension, the cult is his responsibility. The pact gives him authority, and he plans to use it to rewrite their oaths. If he can turn them from monsters into something better, he will. A new quest appears. A new vow. Objective. Forge a new path. Dylan watches from the couch and finally says, fine, his mind is made up. Dylan did all he could. Noah blinks awake. Dylan's final words, still echoing in his mind warnings about the gods, the world, and the danger of the path he's chosen. He sits up slowly, groaning, as he realizes he's blacked out again. He mutters that he's really not a fan of how often he's passing out lately. Before he can gather his thoughts, Aurelia steps into the room with a smirk and casually announces that he's finally awake, like this is just another Tuesday. Aurelia tells him he was out cold for 2 days, which is apparently impressive given the healer expected a full week of recovery, especially with the whole missing arm situation. She shrugs it off like it's a stubbed toe, explaining that regrowing an arm isn't that big of a deal with full restoration magic, though healers who can pull that off tend to charge more than rent in a capital city. She adds that since Noah's on a blood-based path, he might just grow it back himself after ranking up. Or, if he's feeling fancy, magical prosthetics are also an option. Noah raises an eyebrow and wonders aloud why there aren't more solutions floating around for limb loss. Then he asks the real question. Any libraries nearby? Aurelia confirms there's a library in town, and Noah says he's hoping to find some alternative solutions he can tweak to suit his situation. She raises a brow and warns him to steer clear of anything that screams nefarious energy consumption. He laughs and admits he can't really promise that, since every power he's gotten so far looks like it belongs to a villain in a Saturday morning cartoon. But he'll try his best not to go full Dark Lord. Aurelia shifts her tone, saying there's something she needs to ask about his abilities. She's held back until now out of gratitude. He saved her twice, after all. But she can't ignore it anymore. Outworlders tend to have strange powers, and Noah's no exception. She points out that even without him saying anything, she could see 3 distinct paths in his aura from the beginning. He doesn't have enough control to hide them, and they practically glow off him like neon signs. She continues, saying his aura paths aren't just visible, they're unusually powerful. And the way he fights? It's not like someone new to battle. He moves like someone who's been through real fights before. Combined with the fact that he showed up in an abyssal cult slayer with void-based powers, it raised every red flag she had. But despite all that, when things got rough, he didn't run. He stood beside her and fought. That's what made her hesitate to judge him too quickly. Noah admits he practiced martial arts back in high school: kickboxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, taekwondo. He never stuck with one discipline too long, but he always enjoyed fighting and was naturally good at it. He explains that when he first arrived here, he didn't know who to trust and didn't want to overshare. People were literally trying to kill him. Aurelia listens quietly as he adds that he's ready to trust her now, with something he hasn't shown most people. Aurelia raises her hand, flames curling around her fingers, and tells him that trust goes both ways. If he can't offer that, she might be forced to act in ways she really doesn't want to. She explains that she needed to know who he was, whether she could trust him as a companion. The ring she used helped her figure that out. She holds out her hand and tells him to inspect it. See for himself what it really is. Noah tries to inspect the ring but gets nothing. Aurelia tells him to try again. This time, the veil drops and the truth appears. Ring of Second Chance. A legendary item made from the frozen tear of an ancient life dragon. It auto-heals and teleports the wearer if their health drops below 1%, but only once. Noah explains this was the ace up his sleeve, the thing the team that betrayed him never knew about. It's what let him take risks. Aurelia smirks and asks if that means she passed his test too. Noah agrees she passed. Aurelia brings up how he commanded a void creature in the mines and that strange letter he pulled out twice, both things dripping with pure void mana. She starts to suspect he might have been masking his aura when they first met. Noah insists he was honest the whole time. She jokes that he can always use his lie-detecting ability to check her. He laughs and admits he doesn't actually have anything like that. She hands him a glowing stone and tells him to press it over his heart and let his mana flow through it. Aurelia asks what she should make of him. Noah channels his mana into the stone and admits he doesn't have many memories. Not even of how he died. It's like parts of his mind were sliced out. But he knows he woke up in the void, and that's how he gained the ability to command void creatures. That's also where the letter came from. He tells her he doesn't want to hurt anyone, especially not the innocent. He's not some world-ending psycho, just a guy who died and woke up in the wrong universe. Aurelia tells him to repeat after her. She swears she hasn't spoken a single lie today and seals it with her astral soul. Noah mirrors her words, and a blue system screen confirms it. He's now under an oath of honesty. He blinks and asks what just happened because apparently honesty now comes with magical paperwork. Aurelia smiles and says the stone didn't crack, which means he told the truth. She nods and tells him she'll trust him now. He saved her life, and she won't be ungrateful anymore. Noah, still curious, asks how the stone even works. She explains that lying causes fluctuations in mana and aura. Only true aura masters can hide that, and mana stones are built to detect it. If he'd lied, the stone would have shattered like cheap glass. Noah sits quietly for a moment, unwrapping the last of his bandages. He pats the bed as if sealing the end of a chapter, then stands and opens the door. With a deep breath, he steps out into the sunlight, ready to figure out how to fix his arm, and maybe, just maybe, fix a few other things too. Noah walks through the village, the morning sun casting long shadows behind him. He heads straight for the library, determined to learn everything he can about prosthetic arms, and whatever else this world is hiding. He finds a desk, settles in, and cracks open the first book like a man on a mission. Noah flips through diagrams of prosthetic arms, but his attention shifts to a section on void parasitic blood summons. They look like slimy worms and burrow into the spine, hijacking the brain and turning hosts into monsters. Gross. But apparently, in rare cases, the fusion creates a symbiotic bond with enhanced physical abilities. Noah leans in, intrigued. If they can hijack a dying body part, maybe they can hijack his severed arm. It's disgusting, but hey, he's desperate. He reads that in very rare cases, the parasite-host fusion actually strengthens the host. That's enough for him. He snaps the book shut, thinking this might be his best shot at fixing his arm. He grabs another book and keeps reading. Void summons feed on life force and only appear when prey is nearby. Luckily, Noah's got an ability that gives him life force in spades. He grins. For once, being a walking buffet might actually come in handy. He learns that trying to bypass the life force requirement is what led abyssal cults to start using human sacrifices. But using a life command binds the summoned creature to the caster, preventing betrayal. A blue screen identifies the book, Skill Book of Advanced Abyssal Call. Between that, his summoning tome, and his life force ability, Noah figures this void parasite summoning might actually work. He heads out, books in hand, ready to give it a shot. Inside a quiet ritual chamber, Noah lays out his materials and opens the skill book. A prompt appears asking if he wants to consume the skill book of Advanced Abyssal Call. He taps yes. As the knowledge floods into him, void energy swirls around the room, and the summoning begins. A blue screen confirms he's gained the Abyssal Call skill, starting at level 25 thanks to his prior experience. He kneels and scratches a glowing summoning circle into the floor. Moments later, the ritual activates with a whoosh of energy. Noah stands beside Aurelia, a little proud, a little nervous, but fully committed. Aurelia gives him a nod of approval. Noah opens the tome of Abyssal Summon and steps into the circle. Void energy crackles around him as a screen asks if he wants to consume the epic tome. He selects yes, and the power surges through him like a tidal wave of dark knowledge. The screen confirms the tome has been consumed. Innate Summon Call unlocked. As the ritual unfolds, the scene shifts to the void, where monstrous worms twist and churn in the darkness. They sense the call. Something ancient is stirring. The void trembles as the creatures respond to the summoning. A voice chants, invoking the abyss to feed on life and bind itself to a mortal soul. The monsters shriek and surge forward, their hunger guiding them toward the summoner's call. The chant continues, demanding the void to accept this offering of blood and bind itself to the summoner. One massive worm breaks from the swarm, answering the call with violent speed. The circle glows brighter, pulling the beast toward the mortal world. The ritual circle erupts as the monstrous worm pierces through the veil. Its senses flood with the presence of life, and in its mind, it roars with joy. This sensation, this overwhelming vitality, makes it feel truly alive. And it's ready to devour whatever stands in its way. The monstrous worm, now fully awakened to hunger and instinct, repeats a single thought: must eat. Without hesitation, it turns on its fellow void spawn, tearing through them with feral glee. Their screams are drowned out by its ravenous frenzy. Then, a golden summoning gate opens mid-air, pulsing with power. The worm senses it, feels the call of a master beyond the veil. One of the other creatures screams for someone to dodge, but it's too late. The worm is already gone, sucked through the portal like a missile of hunger and violence, ready to crash into a new world. As it tears through the dimensional rift, the worm experiences something it never knew it lacked: life. It thinks to itself that it feels truly alive, not just existing but thriving. It plummets through the void like a comet of chaos, crashing into the summoning circle with a deafening impact. The runes flare, binding it in place. The creature writhes in anticipation, its grotesque body pulsing with energy. It's not just a beast anymore, it's a weapon, and it's eager to serve. As the summoning completes, a series of glowing blue directives slam into the creature's mind like divine commandments. Don't eat everything, don't destroy everything. Don't be bad. The final message drills in the most important rule. Listen to Master, obey every command. The worm's primal instincts are overwritten by this new programming. It's officially housebroken. Mostly. The worm lets out a guttural roar as the last of its resistance burns away. A voice echoes from the summoning circle, commanding it to move. The creature hesitates, then complies, slithering to the designated spot. It repeats the instruction to itself, knowing disobedience means banishment back into the void. A hand reaches out, dark energy swirling around it, reinforcing the bond. The summoner encourages it gently, calling it Tony, and praising its obedience. Tony, the void worm, is doing great. Honestly, he's thriving. The moment the bond finalizes, Noah screams as the parasite fuses into his arm like molten metal. He collapses to the ground, his body racked with pain. A blue system alert flashes. He's been inflicted with Abyssal Parasite and Fever 1. His skin burns, his muscles seize, and the transformation begins with no pause button in sight. Aurelia, alarmed by the chaos, readies a fireball and demands Noah desummon the creature. But Noah, panting and drenched in sweat, insists he's fine. He tries to stand his ground, but his body gives out and he crashes to the floor. Gritting his teeth, he mutters that his body is burning from the inside. Aurelia rushes to his side, concern etched across her face. A new system message appears. Pain tolerance unlocked. Noah clutches his arm as the heat intensifies, his skin sizzling from within. Black tendrils snake up his arm as the parasite digs deeper. Another alert flashes: Fever 1 has evolved into Fever 2. The transformation isn't slowing down. If anything, it's accelerating. Aurelia leans in and tells him he's burning up. Noah, barely able to speak, explains that the parasite is draining his life force to rebuild his arm. He needs health potions fast. But before he can say more, his body convulses and he collapses again, breathing heavily as the fever pushes him to the edge. System messages flood his vision. Pain tolerance hits level 2, meditation follows, then pain tolerance jumps to level 3. Noah steadies his breathing. He focuses on the rise and fall of his chest, on the flow of mana through his body. The pain doesn't vanish, but he learns to ride it like a wave. He's not just surviving, he's adapting. Noah's meditation pays off, his skills skyrocket. Meditation hits level 9, pain tolerance reaches level 8. He opens his eyes and glances at his arm. Something's off. The pain is gone, but so is all sensation. He lifts the limb and mutters, confused, calling out to Tony. The arm is completely numb, transformed into something alien. A final system message confirms it. Fever 3 has been removed. Aurelia hands him a potion, and Noah gulps it down without hesitation. She asks if he's feeling better. He nods, surprised, and says the pain just vanished all at once. He's still processing what just happened, but at least he's not melting anymore. Noah watches his arm twitch and shift again. He chuckles, realizing Tony's not done cooking yet. He stops moving the limb and lets the transformation finish. The result? Thicker skin, reinforced muscles, retractable claws, and even a poison gland. He grins and calls it awesome work. Aurelia stares at the monstrous hand and says what everyone's thinking. That's quite the hand you've got now. System alerts confirm the evolution Abyssal Parasite has reached level 6 and evolved into Abyssal Symbiote. Lifeblood hits level 4. The arm is now a permanent part of him, a living weapon that feeds on his life force and grows with him. Noah admits he didn't expect it to work. Aurelia confesses she wasn't sure either, which is why she made sure she had a plan to remove it if things went sideways. Spoiler, they didn't. Noah swings his new arm through the air, feeling the power ripple through it. The claws extend with a satisfying snick. He grins wide and declares it was absolutely worth it. The pain, the fever, the screaming void worm, it all paid off. Aurelia advises him to keep the arm hidden. Drawing attention is rarely a good thing. She explains that while some adventurers do replace limbs with monster parts, it's still a rare sight, especially something this extreme. Noah raises the arm proudly and calls it sick. Aurelia blinks, confused. He clarifies that in his world, sick means awesome. She mutters that his world must be strange. He just whistles and shows off Tony like a proud dad. Noah flexes his claws, testing their responsiveness. He admits he'll need to learn how to control them. Aurelia, curious, asks if she can touch it. He shrugs and says sure. She presses the surface, fascinated by the texture and the way it reacts. They both watch as the claws extend again, clearly impressed, and maybe a little unnerved. Aurelia notes that having a built-in weapon is a major advantage. Most Awakens struggle to find gear that scales with them, but since Tony is part of Noah's body and tied to his astral script, it'll grow alongside him. Noah lights up and says he wants to test it out. Aurelia laughs and says they should head outside first. No need to wreck the place just yet. They step outside into the golden light of late afternoon. Leaves rustle underfoot as they walk through the quiet path. Noah scans the area, then points to a sturdy tree. He nods to himself and says, "This one will do." Time to see what Tony can really do. Noah grins like a kid with a new toy. He flexes his mutated arm, the void tendrils pulsing with energy. The sun glints off the blackened surface as he prepares to unleash his first real test. With a sharp inhale, Noah winds up and slashes forward. The void energy explodes from his arm in a sweeping arc, tearing through the tree like paper. Splinters fly in every direction as the trunk shatters. He watches in awe, a wild grin spreading across his face. Tony's got bite. As the tree groans and collapses, Noah decides to take it up a notch. He channels venom through his arm, and purple tendrils whip out, splattering the trunk with poison. The bark sizzles as the toxin sinks in. He watches the destruction with a satisfied grin. This arm isn't just for show, it's a whole arsenal. Aurelia finally asks the question that's been bugging her. Who is Tony? Noah beams and says it's the name of his hand. Cool, right? Aurelia just stares at him and says his taste is something else. She's not wrong. Noah admires the aftermath of his attack, but Aurelia brings him back to reality. She warns him not to get too cocky. He still needs to learn how to fight with a clawed hand. His fighting style is built around fists, and his left arm coordination is trash. Noah pats Tony and says he's sure the worm can help with that too. He laughs, unable to stop smiling as he clicks his claws together like a proud parent at a school recital. Aurelia shakes her head and says she doesn't get him. Most people wouldn't be thrilled to have a monster arm. But Noah insists she's wrong. Forget the magic. Just having this kind of arm is a flex. Back home, rich people would pay rivers for something like this. She asks what cool even means. He explains it's a way to say something is awesome or fun. Context matters. Language lessons, courtesy of Tony's #1 fan. Noah continues his crash course in Earth slang, explaining that if someone says, "we cool," they're trying to make peace. He admits it never made much sense to him either. Aurelia calls his world weird. He fires back that hers has dragons, which is objectively weirder. She defends dragons like they're house pets. Noah laughs and says a fire-breathing lizard is definitely weird where he's from. She smirks and says if he ever went back, the dragon would probably seem more normal than him. He just grins and says, "You bet." Noah launches himself like a missile, legs tucked, eyes locked on the target. He swings Tony with a wide arc, and the clawed arm slices clean through a massive boulder like it's made of butter. The two halves tumble down with a soft thud, one of them landing with an anticlimactic poof. He lands on his feet, grinning like a kid who just broke a paella with a single swing. Noah flexes his left hand and winces slightly as it throbs with energy. He mutters that it's still bone under there even if it doesn't feel like it anymore. A system prompt flashes. Void Hunter, obliterate. His heart pounds as he feels the void energy pulsing through Tony. He reminds himself that this arm reacts a little too well to void magic, and messing around with it without thinking could go very wrong. Still, he channels the energy, watching as his claw begins to crackle and glow with unstable power. This is either going to be awesome or catastrophic no in between. With another burst of speed, Noah charges forward and slashes through a second boulder, the impact sending shards flying in every direction. The rock explodes with a satisfying crack. Aurelia watches from a distance, arms crossed, clearly unimpressed by the rock carnage. She calls out, telling him it's time to head back before people start thinking he got eaten by his own arm or something. She adds that if he's still in the mood to play with his monster limb, he can always come back later. Noah nods, already plotting his next round of destruction. Noah mutters under his breath, calling her a killjoy as they start walking back toward the village. He trails a few steps behind her, snickering to himself like he just remembered a meme mid-math test. Aurelia glances over, side-eyeing him with suspicion. She finally asks what's so funny. He waves it off, still grinning, and says it's just something that popped into his head. She narrows her eyes, already regretting asking. Noah can't hold it in any longer. He dramatically declares that after seeing his new arm, he couldn't help but think, what a handy upgrade. Then he absolutely loses it, laughing like he just told the greatest joke in history. Aurelia groans and covers her face, probably reconsidering every life choice that led her to this moment. Meanwhile, Noah's laughter is so intense it literally ignites his hand, flames bursting out as he throws a proud thumbs up into the sky like he just won a pun championship. Noah narrowly dodges a fireball by activating Blink, vanishing in a flash just as it scorches past. Aurelia yells that she hates him, but he's already sprinting through the trees, laughing like a man who just got away with murder. The forest opens to a clear sky, and a familiar voice greets him, casually asking how the new hand's working out. Noah slows down, still grinning, ready for whatever comes next. Back at the inn, Noah leans against the bar, chatting with Lorien over drinks. He says the arm's working better than expected, maybe even better than the original. Lorien eyes it curiously and says it must be one of those magical prosthetics he's heard about, but seeing one in person is something else entirely. Noah takes a long sip and admits he's heard some wild rumors floating around about how he got it. Lorien chuckles and tells him not to mind the village gossip. But Noah grins and says he actually loves the rumors. One of them led to a very interesting morning. As Noah walks through the village, a group of kids whisper loudly behind him, claiming he ate the monster in the mine to get his arm. One of them even says it like it's a confirmed fact. A nearby mother scolds them, warning that if they keep misbehaving, he might eat them next. Noah smirks and mutters that he doesn't bite. Probably. But then he spots a flash of red hair in the distance and instantly activates Blink, disappearing before anyone can ask questions. Noah pops out from behind a corner with a dramatic roar, sending a group of villagers into full panic mode. They scream and scatter like pigeons, and he walks off grinning like a menace. Later, back at the inn, he and Lorien are still laughing about it. Lorien asks how long Noah plans to stick around, saying he figured someone like him would have better places to be. Noah explains they'll be heading out in 2 days. Aurelia's working on the route. Lorien teases him about letting Aurelia take the lead, but Noah shrugs and says with Tony fused to his arm, he can't exactly turn off lifeblood. For now, he'll settle for the taste of ale instead of adrenaline. Lorien agrees. Better that than getting lost and dying in some cave. Noah then pulls out a list and asks for a favor. Lorien scans it and immediately recoils, asking if Noah's trying to summon a demon. Noah waves his hands frantically, denying everything. He swears it's just for testing new abilities. No demon summoning involved. Probably. Lorien sighs and says he'll see what he can do, but if Noah wants it all today, it's gonna cost him. Without missing a beat, Noah slides a glowing mana stone across the table. That shuts Lorien up. He mutters something about adventurers always being extra, but he pockets the stone and agrees to get everything by the end of the day. Business is business, even if it involves suspicious shopping lists and magical experiments. Noah steps outside, stretching under the morning sun. Down the road, a young villager pushes a cart full of supplies, the wheels rattling over the cobblestones. The boy hands him a note, explaining that the master couldn't find everything, so he gathered what he could. Noah thanks him and takes the goods inside, ready to get to work. Noah returns to the barn where Aurelia waits, casually sharpening a blade. He asks if she'd be willing to help. She smirks and says she's sure he would appreciate that. He cracks up, making another terrible pun about his handy situation. She ignores him, clearly pun-resistant. When she finally asks what he plans to do with all the supplies, he grins and says it's time to test out some new tricks. Aurelia raises an eyebrow and asks how exactly he plans to test his powers. Noah tells her to just watch. He checks the cage. Empty, good, no interference. Then he turns to the trembling rabbit in the next cage, who clearly regrets every life decision that led to this moment. Noah crouches down, ready to begin his first real experiment with teleportation magic. Noah flicks his wrist and activates Blink, focusing on the rabbit. In a flash of blue light, the creature vanishes from its cage and reappears safely in a new one across the room. He nods, satisfied teleporting with objects is officially a go. He adds that the rabbit probably isn't thrilled, but hey, science. Aurelia jolts in surprise, clearly impressed, despite herself.